The Dark Tower by Stephen King. The man in black fled across the desert, and the gunslinger followed. Go then. There are other worlds than these. Death, but not for you, gunslinger. It's time we had our own palaver, I think, and it's going to take a while.
And yet, dauntless, the slug horn to my lips I set, and blew. Child Roland to the Dark Tower came.
We are quartet, one from many. The palaver begin.
Hello and welcome to Dark Tower Palaver. This is our podcast covering Stephen King's Magnum Opus, The Dark Tower series. My name is Tad.
And I'm Peter.
And we're here for roundtable number 39. I just realized that we have one more proper episode before the movie, so we'll be hitting number 40 right before we get into the actual film. So
yeah,
I guess as a heads up for people, so this episode will have it out normal, and then the next episode will be out normal, but then after that one, a short week later, we'll have the I guess I don't know what I want to call it,
the movie reaction.
The movie reaction, yeah. So
Yeah.
people that aren't international that will be getting the movie the same time as we are can go ahead and they'll be getting 3 shows in the next 4 weeks, something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Initially, before we get too far into it, let's explain. I thought we had calculated that the 4th would be a regular show for us, so we would do a special show for people who didn't have the movie yet. But turns out I was wrong.
Yeah.
I did math wrong, which is not surprising.
Yeah, we counted off the calendar a little bit wrong, so we're going to be in between weeks when the movie comes out.
Yeah.
But fear not, if you, again, contingent upon the fact that you're in the United States or in a country that gets the film on the 4th, you will be hearing a podcast hitting YouTube as a live stream and hitting your podcast feed most likely by the end of that day.
Yep.
So hopefully if you've seen the movie that day, you can listen to it. If not, you can jump on the next day and listen to it after you watch it whenever you get a chance to watch it. So we'll get into the normal notes real quick for anyone that's new joining us for the first time. First off, I want to warn you guys about spoilers. If you guys haven't read the 7 primary books of the Dark Tower series, you may want to cry off this podcast and stick to our book club episodes because we will spoil freely of the entire series. And I also want to take a little bit of a caveat and also say that I guess that kind of goes for the movie now as we're getting closer. I don't know if anyone would be looking at podcasts now going into the movie, but if you wanted to, I mean, I guess we've been doing that the whole time, but I just started thinking about it recently because there's been a few articles even that mention spoilers. And I'm like, oh man, I mean, hopefully our spoiler warning is well enough to know that for people to know that if you're listening, we're not really holding back. We're people that are completely absorbed in the Dark Tower. So for us, like, this movie is, I don't know, it's not about necessarily being surprised in a lot of ways.
No.
So if you guys are wanting to go in surprise for the movie, you may want to be careful about some of the articles, and I'll warn you as we get into it and let you know about that. Also, if you guys want to find us, you can find us on any podcasting service, especially now that we're on YouTube. If you guys are looking to get into the podcasting game, you can find us through iTunes, which is always like one of the biggest podcast distributors. You can also find us on Stitcher if you like to stream things rather than download things. And any podcast app out there. I know like Podcast Addicts is the one that I personally use. I know we're on there.
That's what I use as well.
Yeah, so there any of those kind of things, you can find us on there.
Yep.
Also, if you guys want to subscribe to us, you can do that on things like iTunes or any of your podcast services or Stitcher. Also, if you could be so kind as to rate and review us on iTunes, we would appreciate that. That helps the show. Also, you can find the show notes at darkttowerpalaver.com, and you guys there. Basically, what you can do is if you're listening to the podcast in the traditional fashion, basically in the studio here we got a screen that Peter looks at and I show him things that have happened and news wise or whatever. Sometimes it's even the listeners that have emailed in send us pictures, and so I will show him that on the screen, and people now that are listening on YouTube or watching on YouTube live, they're also seeing the same thing. But if you're listening to the standard podcast and want to know what the hell we're talking about, go on over to the show notes at darktowerpalaver.com and check out what we're looking at, and also you'll have the links for all of the articles that we cover. So like last time we talked about that article about MRC and had a lot of really cool stuff about like Baby Driver, for instance, but I couldn't really share the Baby Driver stuff because it's not pertinent to us.
Right.
But I recommended a lot of people go check that out. They could have gone and found those links at darktowerpalaver.com. Also, if you guys want to join the Palaver, There's a few different ways to do that. Peter, what's the best way for people to join in?
Best way to reach us is through email. That's darktowerpalaver@gmail.com. We also have a Facebook page. It's facebook.com/darktowerpalaver. And you can find us on the Twitter. It's @darktowerpod. That's @darktowerpod. And then, like Tad and I also mentioned, we're on YouTube Live every time we record. So if you go to search for us, we don't have a private URL yet, right?
No, we're almost there, though.
Almost.
So if you guys are listening, if you guys want to subscribe to our channel on YouTube, if there's ever a point you can join us live, it'll alert you for that kind of thing. We need to get to, I think it's 100, and we're at 80 right now.
Yeah, and that's just search YouTube right now for Dark Tower Palaver, and that's where you'll find us. So,
yes, indeedy.
What's this news?
Oh, yeah, there's plenty of news, and Lou mentioned in the chat as well. I haven't really necessarily thought about it yet, but yeah, we haven't had a movie rating yet.
No.
The movie hasn't been rated yet. But in this day and age of digital filmmaking, that's really not a huge deal. I mean, I remember famously, I think it was episode 2 of Star Wars was one of the first times that things were digitally distributed, and I think Lucas was editing up until almost a week before the film came out, versus in the old days, you actually had to get, like, press the film into, like, the actual film thing, put it in canisters and ship it across the country. So usually your film would be dead set, weeks and weeks, maybe even a month in advance, but that's not the case anymore. But also, Lou saying he saw it in Dark Tower trailer in front of Baby Driver. Great movie. Not in front of Spider-Man, though. Maybe it was because I saw it in IMAX. Yeah, that could definitely be. I heard that some people got like a Ballerina like bonus thing for IMAX on that. Or Dunkirk, too.
We saw Dark Tower with Spider-Man.
Yeah, we did see it with Spider-Man. Yeah, and I saw it with Baby Driver, but not Dark Tower, so it still feels like it's kind of somewhat finicky. But yeah, that was, I guess, for an update since last time we recorded, because I guess was before Spider-Man, wasn't it? So yeah, I guess we both. I actually went the premiere. So what was that, like Thursday night?
Yep.
Like those kind of premieres. I went with a buddy and saw it, and it was the same exact theater that me and Peter would go a day or so later. And so I knew that we would see it, and it was just funny watching Peter sitting there in the theater squirming. Every trailer that would come on, he would just like start getting madder and madder that it wasn't Dark Tower.
And then like the second to last trailer was Dark Tower, and I was like, finally, I got to see it on the big screen. Yeah,
and all the while, I'm just sitting there going, you'll see it. Although there was part of me that's like, watch them mess something up and they don't show it. That would have been hilarious.
You're evil. You know that? Hashtag Ted is terrible.
Wow, that is really early for this. Barely out of the intros before you
how
got that
dare
one in
you
there.
not want me to see the trailer?
No, I'm just saying.
That's just mean.
I'm not necessarily saying that's what I was rooting for, but I was thinking to myself, wouldn't that be really weird if, like, literally it was like the same theater, like not even just like the same complex, but like it was theater number 1. Like we were in the exact same. Like I was in the exact same seat that I was in the previous film. So it was one of those things that like we have. Like generally speaking, if you're in the exact same actual theater, you're going to see the same trailers you've seen through any other. If you go to it 3 or 4 times, I'm one of those kind of people that go to movies multiple times enough to know that. So yeah.
So Dark Tower 19 times, right?
I don't know, man. That's a tall order. That's a really, really tall order. It's unfortunate that it wasn't like a lower number for Dark Tower.
I know, it's not 3. It had to be 19, didn't it?
although it could have been worse. I guess it could have been like a triple digit number.
999.
Yeah, something crazy. All right, so
or maybe 1999.
Yeah, that's that. I guess that is indeed one of the numbers, especially as you get into the later books. Okay, so then we're going to jump on over then and get into some news, and there is a lot of stuff that's happened since the last time we talked. I mean, we're getting to the point now where we're hard and fast towards the movie. I mean, like I said, we're 3 weeks from today. From if you're with us live on YouTube, we're 3 weeks away to the day. If you guys are listening to the podcast, you're a little bit less than that because you'll be a few days behind.
It's crazy. Just before we went on the air, Ted's like 3 weeks. I was like, man, 3 weeks from today, we would have seen the movie and recorded by now. We honestly could be back at a second screening watching it again.
It's definitely possible. But yeah, it's approaching quickly, so a lot's happening. A lot of stuff, I guess, that you would expect happening news-wise. Also, yeah, Lou, I think that's what we've been hoping for. Is
Tad has been wishing for this for weeks. He's been talking about this.
Yeah, doubleheader. If Dark Tower can do well and stay in theaters for a single month, then you will be able to go to a Stephen King doubleheader because it comes out the very beginning of September. So you'd be able to go see Dark Tower and it and Dark Tower.
And of course, that's when Lou steps away.
But yeah, no, so I'm looking forward to that. I'm really hoping that, I mean, it's pretty rare that you get a movie that drops out of theaters that quick. So I almost think it's almost a certainty. I think, there might be, especially because movies slow down that time of year. So it's not like there's a bunch of movies waiting to push, Dark Tower out of theaters. It's not like this time of year, or if it had come out in March or April, and then those summer blockbusters were shortly behind, like that would have changed things up quite a bit. But
Yeah.
so I'm thinking that doubleheader might be happening. I'm getting excited for it too.
So which would be first?
I think it would just depend on the show times. I think Dark Tower is the one you have to almost work around, because by the time you're getting that late into the run, you're going to have a lot less show times.
Yeah, it's going to be the new show, so it'll have more show times.
More show times, more screens playing it and stuff. Yeah. Although I guess if you had your choice, I think I'd almost prefer to go Dark Tower first, just because I will have already seen it a few times. So
but wouldn't that be worse? Like, you're in Dark Tower, you've seen it a few times, you're sitting there and you're just like, I want to see Pennywise. Give me Pennywise. I'm tired of this. I want to get out of this. I want to go see Pennywise.
No, I'm not going to be tired of it, sir.
I don't know.
My boy Flag will keep me fairly well entertained.
All right.
I'm not too worried about that. So let's go ahead and jump into the news then. And the first thing, and it actually happened basically right about a day or so. Basically, if you listen to the podcast in the traditional sense, this actually dropped before the podcast got released even. So it was in that magical window.
That dark area for us where it's like we record on Saturday. It drops on, what do we drop, Tuesday or Wednesday?
It's
I always mix
Wednesday.
it up. So we drop Wednesday. And something happened Monday, and it's like, why aren't they talking about? No, we recorded on Saturday.
Yeah, exactly. But it was a new poster.
Oh,
on
okay.
July 3rd, 2017. So if you're in the United States, right before the holiday, and actually it was, it would be the date. So it was actually indeed Monday.
Yeah. Okay.
So the 3rd.
Wow.
Yeah. So the new poster is this one here, and we got Roland and Flag, and we got the tower in the background. You got New York on the other side. You got kind of a demarcation line, kind of the same motif they've been playing with, where you kind of get the feel of two different worlds side by side, which is kind of cool.
It's kind of interesting they didn't switch the characters there. They got Roland in New York and the Man in Black in Midworld.
Yeah,
but isn't it kind of like switched in like everything we've seen?
But that's the way it was on the original poster too.
It was, wasn't
you
it?
had to look at it upside down.
Well, yeah, but upside down was still the streets of New York. So,
but that's where like the creatures were there and stuff, and
yeah,
it just looked.
No, it just I always from what they've released, even poster wise, like individual posters, I've always associated the Man in Black with New York and Roland with Midworld.
Yeah,
so
yeah, that's true.
It's kind of interesting they switched them on this one.
Now, I will say my first impression overall is just like this is kind of what we talked a few episodes back about, just kind of like bad Photoshop Hollywood posters. This definitely looks like one. Looks like they pretty much cropped Flag and Roland right off of their other posters to put them into this one. So, I mean, this just kind of feels like, I mean, I like it for kind of what it is, but it is kind of like with that caveat of I like it for what it is, and what it is kind of a Photoshop hack job, to be honest. I mean, it's just...
I'm sure a fan-made poster would be better.
Yeah, oh yeah, fan-made something would be absolutely much better. Yeah. But, I mean, that's not something even a knock on Dark Tower, because that's pretty much every Hollywood picture. I mean, you got...
No, yeah, it's
Marvel's
the
making
norm
billions
now.
of dollars, and they make the crappiest posters at times where it's just, like, terrible. I'm like... Come on, man. Like, you're literally built off of comic books. Like, can you not make a poster that replicates a comic book cover, maybe?
Yeah, because who's going to be the ones that are looking at the poster, like, in depth, like us, like, looking at the poster? Casual fans are not going to be like, oh, man, look at this poster. I'm going to go out and buy that. No, it's going to be us that's going to want to buy a poster. That's why you need to get, like, what they did with... was it The Force Awakens, where they actually brought that artist in from like the old days?
Yeah, Drew Struzan.
Yeah, the guy that draws
posters
instead of computer animating them, photoshopping them together like you've talked about.
Yeah, like gone are the days of like Raiders of the Lost Ark, where you have one of these like just iconic pieces of art almost, just for the poster. Gone are those days. Nowadays, it's all about just chopping something together on Photoshop, and you just hope that if you're a fan of something that's big enough, that has enough fans that are creative, that they make their own fan-made posters, because they're usually better than what big studios come up with. And again, that's everyone. That's Marvel. I mean, even some of the Star Wars posters they've had have been like so compared to in the newer age. So, but the other thing I want to point out is this new round of marketing has a tagline there. Let's see, their war is coming to our world.
And that was in the trailers, the NBA Finals TV spots.
Yeah. And I will say that the wording on this one's a tiny bit different, but I will say that a lot of the a lot of the advertising that's been happening now has been having that, and a lot of people may remember that's actually a recycled tagline, and that's actually one that is the one that was used for the original Transformers movie.
Oh,
and
really?
The original line was "Their war, our world." And that's actually something that we see on one of these Dark Tower things coming up.
Oh, yeah.
So it's just oh, come on, Hollywood, man.
We can be better.
Yeah, let's do something. And I also feel like it doesn't necessarily capture the Dark Tower correctly. I don't think that it's necessarily like their war spilling over into our world as much as like our world is part of their larger existence. That I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, this is definitely the one thing I do love about it, though, is like I said, I like the line of demarcation and like this splitting of things, because I think that fits the book really well. Just to have that, just like the original poster. It's like the original poster, I think, was done a lot more artistically. Like that's one that I can't wait to like have up on the wall. This one, I don't know if I'd put this on a wall necessarily. Nah. I do like seeing the tower in the background, parallel to the Empire State Building. It's pretty cool and stuff. Yeah. But it's. Definitely, it is what it is. Idris Elba getting top billing. That's something that we've been seeing repeatedly, and that actually is somewhat of a surprise to me, because I was expecting, even months and months back, I expected Matthew to get the top billing just because he's an Oscar winner and everything else. But the one, the Spider-Man poster is terrible too. Lou says the only one that I actually somewhat liked is the one that came out more recently, where he's like web slinging with the guy under his arm with the Iron Man mask on. The only reason I like that is because that's literally stripping one of the original covers for Spider-Man, and it's him swinging with a robber. The guy didn't have an Iron Man mask on. Yeah. Beyond that, like it's basically copying. I mean, it does still feel a little bit too CG, or not. It was too Photoshop for me. Yeah, but I think if they would almost stylize it a little bit to look comic-y, it would have been like one of the most perfect posters ever. And Tony also says Roland looks like he could be in a Marvel movie. I mean, yeah, like I said, it just for me, the bad Photoshop always comes out with the lighting. Like the lighting of the two just they don't look like they fit on this poster. It almost looks like if you're in our age group, it's like the sticker books you used to get as a kid, where you'd have like some like cheap animation, and then you put like this sticker on that was like always like a lot more highly animated. Yeah. So then it always looked like this, where it just didn't feel like it even fit. Like it. Right. I don't know. Like I said, that's just the state of modern posters. That's not a knock on Dark Tower. That's just the way Hollywood is anymore. I think that there must be like one like sweatshop of Photoshop people that makes every poster out in Hollywood anymore.
It's entirely possible that they do. Here's the good guy. Here's the bad guy. You want to show the bad guy? No. Okay. Yeah. Here's your poster.
Yeah, but I mean, it does definitely convey some stuff. Like I said, as book fans, we could definitely look at it and go, okay, yeah, like we're seeing like their world, our world, like side by side. The world next door, as it were, and from the epic bestseller novel by Stephen King. That's definitely good to see. And yeah, like Lou said, still not rated. And this is a little bit. This is what, about 9 or so, 10, 11 days ago since this poster came out, and we're still at a point where we don't have a rating for the film. So
11 days later.
That's interesting. Okay, so that's it for the new poster, and then we will jump to July 6th, and this is one that I found just kind of interesting, and it's Sony Pictures, and this is basically the headline, and it's from Adweek is the name of the publication, and it's Sony Pictures and Dell were the last week's top spenders on broadcast placement of new ads, and I just thought this was kind of interesting because we've always been worried about what...
Is Sony actually going to be spending money on their ad campaigns?
Yeah. So I'm going to take the excerpt, just one excerpt here, to kind of give a highlight for Sony here. And it says Sony was the week's top spender, devoting $4.4 million of its $10.5 million overall broadcast placement budget, about 41% to new trailers for the Emoji Movie, Baby Driver, The Dark Tower, Spider-Man Homecoming. Of that, the company spent $43,000 on the new trailer promoting August 4th's release of adaptation of Stephen King's The Dark Tower series. And $1.2 million on promoting the June 28th release of Baby Driver, $1.3 million to a trailer promoting July 28th The Emoji Movie, and nearly $1.8 million on a new trailer for the June 28th release of the summer blockbuster Spider-Man Homecoming. So that's just kind of how it breaks down. But so, I mean, it's as you could see in those numbers, I mean, you're talking Baby Driver. What did I say? Baby Driver had $1.2 million, and then 1.3 million for Emoji Movie and 1.8 million for Spider-Man, and then 43,000 for Dark Tower. So it's definitely I'm almost happy with that, though, because I would really hate to see a percentage of the movie get bumped up for its cost because of the ad campaign. Yeah, like that would not be good, because now you're just digging yourself into a deeper hole for what we have to climb out of to get a quote successful movie and get sequels and stuff. So
Yeah.
I'm actually okay with this because
Okay.
we see they're picking their shots. We see that, you know, this is another part of this thing I didn't take as a highlight, but I do know it said that it talked about a lot of the stuff being primetime stuff, you know, set with like live events and like sports and stuff, and also like reality TV stuff, like stuff that's draws big viewers and stuff.
Yeah.
So I do think that they're picking their spots, and they're picking the shots to take, and they're taking the shots for Dark Tower. So I think it's the perfect balance in my mind to feel safer as we get closer to the movie.
I was just about to bring up the point that Lou just made in the chat. They're advertising big on movies that are coming out soon, according to this.
Yeah.
And then Dark Tower still has another week.
Yeah, true.
So we have more time for them to spend more on Dark Tower now.
Yeah, totally true.
So, I mean, if they want to spend TV spots this week and everything, there you go.
Yeah. But for like a $60 million budget, I'd really hate to be in the position where Spider-Man's at and see him spend $1.8 million on advertising Dark Tower, because there'd be part of me to be like, wait, are you kidding me? Like, you couldn't afford to give him a few more $1 million for the actual movie, but you're going to start dropping, millions on the ad campaign. Like, that's insane to me. But it is good to see that they're, but it is also a weird thing where Sony has that many movies coming out all in this clump of time.
Yeah.
So, but it does look like they're actually spending the money to actually get the.
They should just not have
there.
made the emoji movie and given us that budget.
That's your old nemesis, huh?
Oh my gosh!
That's now I'm just at the point where I just can't wait for the emails and just to see if people use emojis or not. And I tell everyone, bring them on. Just fill those emails up with emojis.
Don't do it.
Oh,
Don't be like Tad. Just don't.
Now,
Be nice.
what if they make emojis for Dark Tower? Like on Twitter sometimes, like they'll, as you get closer to a movie, like I just saw recently, if you do like hashtag Game of Thrones, you get like different Game of Thrones characters emojis next to the actual hashtag.
Oh, that'd be okay, because Dark Tower overrides the
Okay,
emojis.
okay, just seeing where you stand on the old emojis there.
No, it's not emojis that I really necessarily hate. It's just the emoji movie.
Yeah.
Once the emoji movie passes, I'll be fine.
Unless it gets a sequel.
Oh, why would you even say that?
Because there are terrible, terrible movies, just as terrible as that have gone on to get sequels.
That's true.
So that's it. That's it for that. That's just kind of a little look at what Sony's been doing for their marketing campaigns, and kind of to give you a comparison. And the one thing I do find interesting in all that, though, is Baby Driver was actually a movie cheaper than Dark Tower, if I recall a few weeks ago when we talked about different budgets. That
right.
MRC article, didn't they spend?
They didn't have hardly anything in CGI, right?
It was just under $50 million, like $47 million on that, and $60 million for Dark Tower. So for the lower cost movie now, they're dropping $2 million on advertising for Baby Driver. So.
Yeah, because that was only totals for 1 week, and so
we'll see.
Totally. We'll see what happens this week.
I'm just looking at like overall comparison of the actual cost of like what they're spending in a single week for a trailer versus what they spent on the movie, and that's just definitely kind of interesting. And I almost, like I said, I feel good about where Dark Tower's at, though. I don't want them to be racking up this kind of crazy debt. That's where like Batman versus Superman got into trouble. I think at one point there's rumors they were almost doubling the budget on the advertising campaign. So that's insanity. All right, so next up, this is actually just kind of a fun little thing, and it's Apple and their iBook category bestsellers for July 2nd, 2017. And this is from Publishers Weekly from July 7th, 2007, so it's usually a few day span until you get these numbers from whatever. But basically you look at like this is just looking at ebooks, obviously, and I think that I don't know where Apple stands necessarily. I don't know if Amazon would probably be bigger than them, maybe, with the Kindle stuff, but I do know that Apple has a huge market share of everything, so there's a pretty good chance that iBooks are pretty pretty showing of what things are doing for sales. And so this is a iBook US bestsellers list for 7/2/2017 for sci-fi and fantasy, and this is the top 20 list. Actually it's only got 19. That's interesting.
Okay.
Just so top 19. So number 1 is actually Dark Tower 1 by Stephen King, and that's how they have it titled, is Dark Tower 1.
Oh, okay.
So it's actually number 1 over, like, let's see, the next one is The Rise and Fall of D.O. by Neil Stephenson and Nicole Gallen. So it's like right in there with everything else. Dragonlance is in there. There's some other big stuff. I think there's like a Star Wars book on here, Ender's Game. So this is like up there with everything else. So let's see. Number 6 is Dark Tower 2 by Stephen King.
Oh, okay.
Number 8 is Dark Tower 3 by Stephen King. Number 9 is Dark Tower 4 by Stephen King. Number 16 is Dark Tower 5 by Stephen King. Number 18 is Dark Tower 6 by Stephen King.
Dang.
So we have 6 of the 7 primary books.
Have we looked at like the New York Times bestseller list? I'm curious.
I haven't. No.
We should do that.
I think generally those, I mean, because this is like, I don't know. I think generally when you're talking like, because that would be usually New York Times, I think like, I want to say that's a little bit more geared towards like hardcovers and like new releases and stuff. So I don't think that they got this new publication of the Dark Tower books with the new covers to like tie in with the movie.
Right.
But I don't think that like that would necessarily get into like hardcover releases. So I don't know if it'd be there, but we're looking at seeing 6 of the 7 books in the top 20.
It's interesting that you say that because I got an email from Audible on Wednesday or Thursday, and it said, check out our Audible bestsellers, top 20 books of your fellow listeners can't get enough of. How many are in your wish list? And number 2, I'll show you the picture, Ted. Number 2 is Gunslinger.
Yeah.
With the new cover.
Which is based off the original poster of The Dark Tower.
The movie. Yeah. So I that's interesting that you have it on iTunes as well as on Audible. So people are also getting it on Audible as well.
Yeah.
So
it looks like there's been a resurgence in sales for Stephen King books. I can't necessarily say that bodes anything but good for the film, because even if that means it's drawing people that have already read the books back to the books and they're rebuying them, or whether that means there's new readers that have never read them before, they're picking them up, that may be a pretty good sign that we might have a good turnout in theaters in 3 weeks.
Yeah, because I mean, we know people that prefer to read the book before going to see the movie. So
yeah, definitely. And I do know I've seen a lot of people that have either started reading the books or reread the books because the movie was coming out. So that's kind of a cool little thing to see. I was like, okay, cool. It hit my radar, so I'm like, I'm sure Dark Tower's on there. And I clicked on it. It says like, top 20 list or whatever. I'm like, oh, well, I'm sure we'll be like, the first Dark Tower book will be like number 17 or something. And I started looking at the list, and lo and behold, number 1 is Dark Tower. So that was a pretty big surprise for me. And like I said, that goes up there with some newer books and stuff that are new books in the sci-fi and fantasy realm. So yeah, that's kind of cool to see. Good to see.
That is really cool.
Good to see Uncle Stevie's written word getting out there and getting into the hands of more people. That's always a good thing. And it makes me wonder where it will be here in about a month.
Oh, what kind of sales we'll see for that?
Yeah, I would really hope people give themselves more time, though. I don't know if people start going to like dive into like, oh, like it's coming out in a couple weeks, I should pick up that book. Because what would they get? Maybe a quarter of the way in if they're lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be a tough one for sure. And then Lou says, I would recommend reading the Dark Tower books after the movie and reading it before that movie. Yeah, and so if you're listening and you're debating on the It read through before the movies, you better go pick that up like immediately and start on that. Like if you have an audiobook, you better pretty much dedicate everything you've got between now and then, because that's a very long book. If you're going to read it, same thing. Maybe you get that and put that on the top of your list and start that very quickly. Don't give yourself plenty of time. What is that book? It's over 1,000 pages.
It's the second or third longest book Stephen King's ever written.
Yeah.
I think it was only passed, if our memory serves, it was only passed by The Stand after the re-editing that he did.
Yeah, with the original cut, with a lot of stuff that he cut out back in the day, because he wasn't a big enough author to drop an 1,200 page book on people, so they ended up having him edit it down, way down.
Yeah, and then I have it right here. Let me pull it up real fast.
And then speaking of Audible, too, I know that Peter, because of some people talking on here, did get the Talisman and Black House.
Oh, okay, so I have a story about that. So I had some credits saved up, and we talked about it last time that I decided to use those credits, and I got Black House, I got Talisman, Went Through the Keyhole, and then I got another Star Wars book. By spending 3 credits, they gave me a $10 credit, which is what I actually used to buy Black House, because it was under $10. I was on sale. But it's interesting because I was working, and I threw on an audiobook at work, and I started listening about some serial killer, and I was like, oh, this is interesting. I wonder how this ties into the Dark Tower, because they told me that the Talisman ties into the Dark Tower. I got about, maybe like an hour and a half into the book. And the next day I was like, oh, I'll continue that book on the way to work. So I hit up my Audible app on my phone, and I started up. Completely new book. Starts over from the beginning. I'm like, oh, that's lame. So I skip forward. Man, it has nothing to do with what I was listening to the day before. I have no idea what happens. I get to work. I talk to you about it, and you're like, "Did you start the sequel?" I look at it. Yep, absolutely started Black House before the Talisman. I was like, "Oh man, how do I do that?"
If I understand it correctly, I think they're connected, but I don't know if they're necessarily like linear necessarily.
Yeah.
I almost think they're almost like ones that live next to each other. So I don't know if you necessarily ruined anything by.
Yeah, I don't think I did. I didn't get far enough into Black House to even.
Exactly.
I don't think I even got introduced to a character. Like they threw out a couple names at the beginning, but they didn't throw out anyone that sounded like they were going to be like like a Roland or someone like that.
Yeah.
So it's like it was just interesting that I'm like, oh, another serial killer. And I'm intrigued by serial killers. We know this. And it's just like, oh, a serial killer with a Stephen King book that has ties to the Dark Tower? Dude, man, sign me up. This is going to be amazing. And then it's like, nope, you already read the wrong book, you idiot.
I think the only thing that anyone that is into audiobooks can relate to more is if you leave your thing playing.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
At some point when you're not listening. That's
going back to what Lou said about getting it and reading it before the movie. If you want to listen to it on Audible, it is 45 hours. So just know that it is quite a long book.
Yeah, it's definitely not one to take lightly. So, yeah, so that is what we have for the whole iBook, I guess, Apple iBook category for bestsellers. And I don't know necessarily what else is going on. If we get any more updates on book sales getting closer to the film, we will definitely share those because I think it's interesting. And next up is, and this is one that I would say, if you're too crazy concerned about the film and spoilers, this may be one you may want to skip out on a little bit. So the headline, track listing revealed for Junkie XL's The Dark Tower soundtrack.
Oh, okay.
So, and it's written by Rohan Patel from Comic Book Movie, and it was on July 7th, 2017. And so this does indeed have all the track listings, and we can go through those because, again, I think that mostly our content here for the Dark Tower Palaver is pretty much, we're all readers of the books, and we've been speculating for months or maybe a year or more about, what would be included and stuff. So this is all just kind of part of it for me. I don't really feel like it's a spoiler for me, but if it is,
just as long as they don't do something like Episode 1 did for Star Wars.
For Star Wars, Qui-Gon's noble end.
I'll never understand that decision.
Track number 1, Oi's death. Oh, sorry, never mind. That was my list here. Never mind. Let's get onto the real list.
You're a terrible person.
Okay, so I actually have a few things for his article before we get into the actual track listing. He says, after Baby Driver and Spider-Man Homecoming, Sony Pictures is on quite a run, but can they make it 3 for 3? Is August their very... this August, with their very ambitious adaptation of The Dark Tower, only time will tell. The number of tracks, for instance, and he goes on to talk about some things they just learned from this release from Sony Music. And he said the number of tracks, for instance, is 29. So we got 29 tracks on the soundtrack.
Pretty robust.
Or the names of each. Be forewarned, these title tracks are somewhat spoilery, so don't keep reading if you want to walk into the Dark Tower completely cold when it opens on August 4th. And it goes on and says, Sony Masterworks announced today that the film's original motion picture soundtrack will hit stores day and date with the theatrical release on August 4th.
Okay.
So I think that was, if I recall, that's the way it was with The Force Awakens, too.
Mm-hmm.
The soundtrack came out the day of the movie, which is kind of weird, because in the old days you used to get soundtracks
maybe they're trying to
a couple
avoid
weeks or even a month or so before. So it's just kind of weird. I mean, I don't know.
Real fast, if anyone's listening live on YouTube and wants to bow out and not hear any of the spoilers, I'll let you know in the chat when we're done with this part of it.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So if you just want to mute it for now, and then we'll give you a thumbs up when it's time to come back on after we're done with the track listing, if you don't want any of the spoilers.
Yeah, indeed. And it goes on and says the album will feature 29 original compositions from Tom Holkenborg, a.k.a. Junkie XL, whose previous scores include Mad Max Fury Road, which is one of my all-time favorites.
Oh, it's a good one.
Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice, and Black Mass. And yeah, so he's definitely one that
man, I didn't realize he's been doing like Hollywood.
Oh, yeah.
Like I knew he did Mad Max. I didn't know he did those other two movies. Dang.
Yeah. He's worked kind of like with, I think he's worked with like Hans Zimmer, and he's worked with some other big names. He's done... Not, I wouldn't say he's like necessarily like prolific like a Hans Zimmer or John Williams or anything too crazy, but he's definitely one that's done a lot, and his stuff is definitely pretty sweet, and I'm really excited to hear what he has in store for us for Dark Tower. And then Lou also mentions, and that's very true, doubt that the tracks are in order from the appearance in the movie. I think that's totally true because, generally speaking, what happens with the soundtrack is I'm a huge nerd when it comes to soundtracks and scores. It's always been one of my favorite things when it comes to movies. And I attribute most of that to John Williams. Is usually what happens is they write the score for the film, and then what they do is they will get the track listings, and then they'll actually basically kind of build what they feel is a good album almost. So they'll like put things out of order. That's why you get things that are way out of order from the film. Like it's not necessarily going to go through track by track and play as the movie does because they want it to kind of be balanced as an album rather than be like it might be unbalanced if you did it in order. So that's kind of how they put them all together. Also, the last thing here before we get to the track listing, the album art has yet to be revealed, but it is currently available to pre-order on Amazon. So if you guys want to jump on Amazon, you guys can pre-order that. I know I've been using a lot of pre-orders on Amazon for things. I have my Funkos.
I was going to say, you told me yesterday you got your Funko Pops, right?
Yeah, and I'm not into the Funkos too much, but I got a nice new big desk here in the studio, and it's got a good place for Mr. Randall Flagg, and I'm sure I can find a place for Roland here too somewhere.
Yeah, head of the table. That's where the hero and top biller goes. Thank you very much.
The hero, Matthew McConaughey, of course. No. So yeah, go over to Amazon if you guys want to pre-order it and check out the. Go ahead and pre-order that. You guys should get it the day that the movie comes out. Amazon's usually pretty good about shipping things a day or so before it actually comes out. So by the time it comes out, you get it at your door. So we'll get to the track listing then. So 29 tracks. Let's go ahead and get into it. Number 1, The Dark Tower.
All right.
And like again, I don't want to go too crazy about because ordering is probably going to be somewhat off, but I honestly wouldn't be surprised if we see some sort of like intro that that introduces the Dark Tower and the premise of it. Who knows? But we'll see. Number 2, The Face of My Father.
Okay,
that's a good one. I like that. Number 3, I Kill with My Heart.
All right.
Number 4, Skin People.
Ugh.
Yeah, I think that goes right along with what we've been seing and hearing about
and wondering too if there's going to be like the teen and something like that.
Yeah, and I think it was Braznikan that told us that like they were going to be there, but it's going to be a lot less special effects, and it's just going to be like these people with this weird like seam along their neck, and they're just not going to look right. So that we
kind of see stuff like that in the trailer, with especially that first trailer, we get kind of a close up of one of those guys. So
yeah, number 5 is an interesting one: getting a toothbrush. Don't ask me. Number 6, very good one here, Dutch Hill.
Oh.
Number 7, Guardian.
Ooh. Okay.
Dutch Hill monster, huh?
Guardian.
Number 8, Arrival in Midworld. So some of these, I mean, are going to be somewhat in order.
They look like yeah.
But yeah, so there's that one. Number 9, His Shine is Pure.
Okay.
So we got our Shining reference in the soundtrack there. We've known for a long time that the Shine's going to be what we're calling Jake's touch, that we would call it as Dark Tower fans. Number 10, The Map. So that's
a map.
It's an interesting one. Number 11, Thinny.
Hey, Thinny, I like it.
Yeah, because we actually speculated a few weeks ago when we had that interview with Stephen King, and he mentioned Thinnies. We're like, why did he say Thinnies?
Yeah.
So and we were speculating, was it last episode, we were speculating about that red cloud that is in front of Jake. So yeah, I wondered if that would be a Thinny, or could it be the speaking demon or some sort of crazy thing. It could be any number of things. Number 12, Something Got Out.
Oh gosh,
that's fun.
That's not no.
Number 13, We Don't Have Chicken.
Okay.
Yeah.
It looked like you were going to say more, so it's like, we don't have chicken. Sorry about that, or something like that.
We don't have chicken is the name of the track. And I can only imagine that has something to do with Jake.
I'm just going to imagine it. Yeah, like oh, that's going to be weird.
Jake being the normal kid wanting chicken to eat or something. I don't know.
Like they're sitting down at that tavern where he's like, do you have bullets in your world? It's like, I have some chicken. No, we only have dog. Like something like that. Yeah. Or dog or horse.
Yeah. Number 14, Manny Village.
So you called it. You're right. You said there was going to be a Manny Village.
There's been a lot of speculation about that. I mean, dating back to, I don't know how long.
Yeah.
But that's definitely something that, that's pretty cool.
Bravo, Ted.
Number 15, See Across Worlds.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good one. Number 16, There's Always Another Battle.
Okay.
Definitely sounds very Rolandish.
Yeah.
And this one is a funny one too.
Oh,
Number 17: a chicken, a goat, and one bullet. A chicken, a goat, and one bullet.
All right. Trick shot.
Yeah, could be. And then number 18, Keystone Earth.
Okay.
And number 19, Portal Activity. And number 20, Smiley Face.
Oh, dude. Smiley face?
Yeah.
Like his button?
Could be Mr. Flag.
Yeah. Again, for those of you who... Because we have fans that haven't ever read anything other than Dark Tower.
Yeah.
Flag, Walter, Man in Black, is in the stand, and he has on his denim jacket a smiley face with a bullet hole in it? Or is it just a smiley face?
It's just a smiley face. I believe the bullet hole is the pig, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, right. The pig has a bullet hole in it because it's dressed like a cop, isn't it? It
Yeah.
says smells like bacon.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So that's definitely would be an allusion to his most famous role in the stand. So
yeah, there is a picture of the what's the actor's name that plays him in the miniseries?
Jamie Sheridan, I think.
Yeah, he's got a creepy smile and he's got that smiley face pin on his left lapel, if I remember right.
Yeah, with his denim jacket.
Yeah.
Okay, and then number 21, the Creed.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one. Number 22, Hero Here, Death Always Wins. Number 23, now we're getting to the good stuff, Dixie Pig.
Oh.
Number 24, this one actually made me geek out quite a bit. Tall, Dark, and Handsome.
Hey, all right.
Yeah, I got to give Junkie XL some credit there, because usually it is that guy that actually scored the film that also does the naming of the tracks. Number 25, Full Package as Advertised.
All right.
And then number 26, It Will Fall. Number 27, Collateral Damage. And then number 28, this is one that we are already, I think, having an idea about. Number 28 is Hot Dogs.
Yes. Yes. All right.
And then number 29, the final track, Roland of Eld. And then in parentheses, main titles.
Okay.
So probably the main track is going to be Roland's theme.
I'm almost going to guarantee I have a new ringtone after this movie. I'm going to have to. Yeah, I'm going to have a Dark Tower ringtone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the track listing for the soundtrack. I don't know. So what do you think? Is there anything that jumps out at you there in terms of, like, I don't know, like anything that is there any surprises, anything like, I don't know. There was a few things that made me smile, like Tall, Dark, and Handsome and stuff, but I wouldn't necessarily say that anything was like super, super shocking.
No. I mean, a goat, a chicken, and one bullet is kind of odd.
Yeah, there's some odd ones for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the soundtrack. Sony coming out the day that the movie releases, you guys will be able to get the soundtrack. And so if you have streaming services like Google Play Music or Spotify or any of those things, they should hit there the same day. So you might be able to walk out of the theater, throw your phone on your old car, and listen to the soundtrack for The Dark Tower on your way home. Go ahead and go back and listen to Death Always Wins, probably one of the best tracks of the album.
No. Pete says that he just bought a Dark Tower cell phone case.
Oh, yeah. Okay. That's pretty
cool.
awesome. Yeah. That's kind of cool. That's kind of stuff I'm hoping to see a little bit more of, is some merchandising. I mean, I know some people get really like weird about merchandising. Oh, it's just like whatever capitalists, like all these guys just want to, it's not about movies. It's about like making toys and stuff. It's like, honestly, as a collector, I'm all about that, man. Get me a Roland and Flag action figure. Get me a freaking phone case. Like, I will load up because it's been how long we've been Dark Tower fans and not really had an overabundance of Dark Tower.
No, remember how long it took me to find a Dark Tower shirt?
Yeah.
Like, it took me years. Like, I think we were recording the podcast before I finally got my first shirt.
Yeah.
Speaking of, actually, I found out, I just realized I'm wearing that shirt.
yeah, indeed you are. It's got the Man in Black fled across the desert and the Gunslinger followed. And they got a silhouette of the tower. And some sort of cowboy figure there.
The hero.
I don't know. He's not first listed in the title there, or in the phrasing there. Man in Black comes first. Yeah, and then Lou says the hot dog as second last track is odd. Yeah, I think that one's that one's definitely, there's some that are obviously way out of order there, but yeah, that's definitely.
What if that's a post-credit scene?
Yeah, I don't know.
It's second to... Okay, so we say second to last, but then the next one is main title, right?
Yeah.
So that one's probably going to be playing at both the beginning and end of the film. So, hypothetically, if we're talking in order, the hot dog scene could be in the end credits.
Yeah, possibly. I don't think it will be, though.
No, it probably won't.
Especially if Jake ends up dying, as chances are he might. I mean, if we follow the books, I just don't see that would even fit thematically. Kind of like Logan, they had to do the post-credit scene before the movie because it really wouldn't have fit after the movie.
Yeah, no kidding.
All right, so that's that one there, and looks like Pete in the chat is taken off. So thanks for joining us, Pete.
Oh no, he says he's sneaking in and out because he's at work.
Okay. I'm only like half reading half the time because I'm like having to like look at notes and look at the chat. So
it's all right.
I misread that as he was signing off.
Nope.
So
he's popping in and out on us.
Oh, okay. That's totally fine. So next up is actually the big one for a lot of things, and we will say, generally speaking, Peter doesn't see a lot of the stuff, but some things just there's no way around them.
Yep.
So this is one that he definitely got around to, and let's see, like Lou's saying, I don't know, things are changing. Don't think Jake will die in the movie. I'm still back and forth. I really don't know what I feel about it, but I really think that he almost has to. I don't know, like, because I don't know. Maybe not. I mean, because there is like, I don't know. There's different.
See, the thing is, I'm just gonna let it go. Dude, we're 2 weeks away at this point. Just give me the movie. Just give it to me, and I'll talk about it afterwards. Like,
but that's just one of the biggest points. Like, without losing him, I just don't know. Like, doesn't that transform? I mean, maybe that's right though, because if it is the evolution of Roland,
right?
It's true. That's totally true. But man, that's really hard to imagine. I mean, you're talking the death of Jake that's probably one of the most critical moments of the entire series. So like to lose that would be like that'd be pretty shocking in a lot of ways.
Right.
Not for me, not in a bad way, because like I feel like the way that I interpret the ending is like an evolution of Roland as he saves his soul kind of thing. But I don't know, like it could be that maybe he doesn't let Jake quote unquote fall.
Lou wants to know if maybe not in this movie, maybe later.
Possibly. I don't know. It feels like because if later movies evolve as we expect they do with the rest of the characters, I just don't see how Jake would die with the other characters there.
I don't think he would. Look at the bridge, like in Wastelands.
Yeah.
I couldn't see Roland being like, well, that kid's lost. Bye.
Yeah. Eddie and Susanna and Oi would turn on him. So
Oi would have gone with him. I mean, I'm thinking of hanging off the bridge kind of thing.
Yeah.
But that brings up another point. Even like with Gasher takes him and Roland's like, well, we could get him back, but it will most likely cost us our life, so we're not going to do that. We need to reach the tower. If he puts the tower before the boy, I'll tell you right now, I know where Eddie and Susanna are going.
Yeah.
They'd be going after Jake. Exactly.
And then Lou says, think the book 7 moment will still happen, and I guess that's kind of that's almost the next biggest argument is like if Roland is evolving and changing and Roland is not going to forsake his loved ones for the tower,
right?
Who knows? I mean, we could fairly well see the whole quartet make it through.
It's possible. What if this happens instead? This movie, okay? So you're not adamant, but you're fairly convinced that Jake needs to die for the relationships and everything like that. And what if Jake sacrifices himself to save Roland in this movie?
Yeah, that's true. It
kind of combine the first death and the last death from the books.
Yeah, and flip it on its head a little bit to where it's not necessarily Roland causing his death, so that there is still the evolution for Roland, but you do still have a dead Jake. Yeah, I don't know. That's I don't know, because it feels so murky to me, because I mean there's so much with this that we're unsure of, like what they're drawing, what they're not, and with it being an evolution and this being like the next phase in the cycle,
right?
I really have a hard time even trying to speculate that far in advance, like the future, because it's like even things like, is Stephen King going to be involved in the later films? Assuming there are later films.
And Tony makes a good point. He doubts that there's going to be a fourth wall break, so no Stephen King.
Yeah, and I could totally see that. I mean, you could even just build the whole thing around the rose. And
what if it's him throwing down his life to protect the rose?
Yeah, I mean, you could do.
I don't know why, but I like that idea of him protecting Roland, jumping in front of something to to save Roland.
But I've been saying for how long, like maybe even before we had our castings, there's still part of me that wonders, would it be something to have Flag be the one that starts taking the Cot's head out? You know, if they do get taken out toward the end, wouldn't it be better to see it be Flag rather than Pimley and Mordred and, you know, like just some random driver in Maine, you know, like just have it be Flag that's actively taking people out if you're going to kill them.
Well,
add some teeth to the main villain. That, like, most people's biggest complaints with the last book isn't necessarily even what happens at the top of the tower, but it's how quote unquote anticlimactic things about like Flag and the Crimson King are.
Right.
So change that up. Like maybe at the base of the tower we have the Flag and Roland showdown, final time. You know. Yeah,
because we see this fight right here, building where it almost looks like Flag's guarding that gateway for some reason. You know, it's him in between Roland and the gateway is how I kind of look at it. I'm like, okay, I wonder what's going to go on there. And if that's not a final fight, if that's the first fight of many we're going to see in a series, maybe, kind of like, you know, Vader doesn't die at the Death Star in Episode 4. Like Lucas wrote that as a standalone. The Death Star is destroyed. Spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't seen Star Wars. But Vader survives. The big bad guy survives. Which was different for films back then. I mean, it was either the bad guy won or the bad guy died. Kind of thing. Or was defeated and captured and everything like that. But it could be a very similar situation here where, you know, someone, Jake, sacrifices himself, Roland's distracted with that gives Flag's a chance to skedaddle and get away. Then we leave it for another showdown.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting concept to like think about what might happen. I mean, but that just feels like there's so many things in motion. It almost feels like that it's so hard to predict what might happen down the way. But I would definitely love to see like it change up a little bit and maybe because like I honestly, as much as I love that kind of stuff in the books, I could totally see not doing it in the movies.
No, yeah.
When it comes to like King and even Mordred, I mean that was one of the ideas I had early on is could you get away with not doing Mordred at all?
Absolutely.
I think the only thing there is that you have to like I wonder if you even still do the pregnancy stuff with Susanna, but that Mordred is maybe even vanquished right away by her
Susanna doesn't miss.
Yeah, it's something because like it's one of those things like you don't necessarily need Mordred to go on the rest of the way, but maybe I just feel that strips so much away from Susanna, and I'd hate to see her be backseated by.
Maybe that's because if you make it because there's that scene in book 7. Is it book 7 when he's born? Yeah, book 7 when he's born. Susanna gets a shot at him and takes a leg instead of a face.
Yeah,
because she just barely missed the spider killing it. What if she doesn't miss?
Yeah, it's true, and I think that like it would even be potentially like a self fight as like if you have Mia involved, like she's going to be fighting herself or fighting some sort of manifestation of herself.
She's going to be trying to
protect.
Well, no, she's going to be trying to save Mia because the spider turns on her. So if you make it so where Mordred turns on Mia, then it's going to be like almost like, oh my gosh, I have to save a part of myself. She was a part of me and everything like that. We carried this baby together. I have to save her, kind of thing. You know, it's one of those. It's almost like a cliche. It's like the hero, and then there's the bad guy that you're kind of sympathetic for, you know, a little bit, and you're like,
I don't know about Flag.
Mordred is a bad guy.
Well, I'm talking Flag.
I'm talking Mordred here.
Okay.
So if
I've just never heard you talk about a quote villain being sympathetic.
There's villains where you absolutely feel like they're forced into the situation, they're blackmailed or something like that, and everything. I
like this, Peter. This is going down the right path.
Here. Quiet, you. And the hero's like goes out of the way, and you know all of us are thinking, oh my gosh, seriously, you ran and grabbed the guy's hand before he could fall off the cliff. Just let him die. He's a bad guy.
Yeah,
just let him go. And that could be a thing with Susanna where she goes to try and save Mia. Maybe Mordred drags her off down a hallway because he's getting shot at, and she's like, you know, I got to save her. I have to save her. You know, that's part of me right there, being dragged down the hallway by that spider. And maybe, you know, get there, kill Mordred, but, you know, Mia's mortally wounded or something like that.
Yeah.
Then you still have, then it goes back to
then you still have like the Susanna's treachery later on, like her leaving, like you like, because so much of her story be lost if you lose the pregnancy. So don't lose the pregnancy,
right?
But off Mordred quick enough.
Cut it shorter.
Yeah, that you don't have to worry about.
Because you don't need to have a Mordred fight later on.
No.
You don't need that if you're going to keep Flag. If you keep, because it almost feels like in the books that Mordred's fight was almost more climactic than the fight with the the Crimson King.
Oh yeah, and Flag.
yeah.
He takes Flag out.
He takes Flag out, no problem. Okay, so if you eliminate Mordred, Flag can go and meet him in the Field of Roses. And then we could even do like what we talked about before, is where you have like where's the Crimson King? You're looking at him, or like the big reveal is that,
or that he already took him out
this whole time. Not only is he the Crimson King, he killed the Crimson King.
Yeah, like Flag did, because like we speculated at one point down in one rabbit trail or another for the books is like, what's Flag's motivations? Is there a potential that Flag himself wants to overthrow the Crimson King and be the primary dude? He wants to mount the tower. He doesn't want to free the Crimson King to mount it. He wants to do it himself.
We get that thought into Flag's mind is like, okay, I just got to get close enough to kill this baby and take his heel that has the mark of Eld, so I can get into the tower.
Yeah,
sneak around the Crimson King. He even says
not to open that door and let the Crimson King out.
No,
but just
to get around him and get to the top.
To keep going. Yeah,
and we've speculated about this, and this is where your theory that Flag is a good guy comes from, is that he's just trying to get there to do his thing, and right the wrongs that Roland's done. But
potentially break that cycle.
Break the cycle.
It feels like he's conscious of the cycle, and like how maddening would that be to like? It's like Groundhog's Day,
Yeah. So it's like he feels we know that he wants to kill Mordred and get to the top of the tower because he knows he can't take a gun from Roland because Roland's too much of a badass and Flag's a wuss. So.
Well, on that note, we have a Dark Tower International trailer number 2. And we definitely get a lot of new stuff. And basically the way this happened is this came out on the 10th. And I want to say right around the time that we recorded last, there was a scuttlebutt that, it was a little bit after our last episode posted. There was a scuttlebutt online where a new trailer had been rated.
Submitted, yeah.
And for rating, yeah. And that it basically was like, I think the rumors was it was about 90 seconds or so, which it's about there. But most of it would be new, and it wouldn't be reusing the old stuff, but this would be something new. So that's kind of how this happened. And then July 10th, it finally dropped. So let's go ahead and take a look here real quick at what we have for this trailer.
The tower is all that stands between light and darkness. For thousands of generations, the gunslingers were knights, sworn to protect it. Now I'm the only one left.
The tower will fall. Get used to the carnage.
Now the wars come to Earth.
You really think you can stop me, Gunslinger? Come on! Everyone who walks with you dies.
No more. I do not shoot with my hand. I shoot with my mind. I do not kill with my gun. I kill with my heart.
All right, so there's international trailer number 2.
Man, so much good stuff in that.
Yeah, there's a lot of great stuff in there. What do you think? What are some takeaways you got there? What's some stuff that
I love the change that we see in the Men in Black. So far, he's been kind of stoic. And everyone who walks with you dies by my hand. And the tower will fall. You don't see any like outbursts of emotion that Flag and the Men in Black is famous for. Tittering and jumping over a dead guy and all that kind of stuff that we see in Gunslinger and more with like the Stand and everything like that. In this one, man, we see like ranges of emotion with him. Come on, just like yelling at him.
I actually think that's probably one of my favorite moments of the whole trailer because it's like
so good.
Yeah, because that's like, okay, you sparked the anger now.
Yeah,
like
now he's pissed.
Yeah, he's pissed for some reason.
Yeah,
and
then that turn with the fire in his hand. It's just it's chilling. Like to think about like the magic and everything like that. And I really think that a lot of people like kind of reacted at what was the CinemaCon where they're like, oh, I guess he has the Force and everything like that. And it's like, well, guys, yeah, he uses magic. I mean, come on. And that's what we talked about at the time, too. I think this shows it a little bit better that you're like, oh, he's not using the Force to stop the glass. He's using magic, and he's got magic in his hand and everything like that. So,
the new one that I saw that was kind of it just made me shake my head of like whatever. It's because like the joke is that the new thing, it feels like that's in every freaking movie, is some like deadly beam shooting into the sky.
Yeah.
Like all these comic book movies, like all these different things, there's always just like this like thing you got to stop that some shooting, and somebody brought that up with one of these trailers. I'm just like, guys, if you haven't read the books, you need to just shut up, because it actually makes sense for this one.
Yes,
like
it does.
With breaking the beams, like that's a big freaking deal.
It's not just a pile of trash threatening a building in some random city.
Yeah, exactly. It's not just like it's not.
And it's just, and then it's also like, like, okay, you can poo-poo the beam shooting into the air kind of thing and everything like that, but okay, well, explain to me how you would do Avengers without a portal. Okay, well, if you're going to do a portal, how are you going to do it?
Yeah. Well, no, it's I think ever since Avengers, though, it just seems like it's happened like a ton, to where that's where like the I guess the attitude comes from. Is just like it's this generic trope now where it just keeps happening like repeatedly, and like with this one, I'm just like, okay, this is like the one time you guys like can't really criticize it, because this is like legit.
This was here before that.
Yeah, this is like
yeah,
exactly. Breaking the beams is a pretty big deal. So. And then, like Lou said toward our last conversation, Jake's loss of his mother, which is strongly implied, will take the place of Jake's death in the first movie.
That's not a bad point.
Yeah, I just think that
if Roland did something to let her die, like if Jake's like, I need to go home, and Roland's like, no, it's not safe, or something like that, Jake could almost blame him. Yeah. And that it could be something that Jake has to forgive him for. You got my mother killed.
Yeah.
That would be interesting.
The only one that's left. I mean, because
we've heard that he's lost his father.
Yeah, and we have no indication in the casting or anywhere else that his father's around. So
nope, nothing like that.
Most likely not.
No father.
Yeah.
So he's with his mother, and if he loses his mother because of Roland's actions, then we could see a friction between Roland and Jake later on that we've talked about. Is kind of necessary.
You can get that. You could build that mistrust that like later on in the thing, like not necessarily that he does like whatever, because there's always that distrust. It's like, you let me fall.
But instead of you let me fall, you let my mother die.
Yeah, yeah.
That's interesting.
And what if it's even a little bit less reactive and more like Roland was like there waiting, but then had to leave for some reason, and like,
or that what if there's a fight there and we see Roland get go out the building. What if that's near Jake's apartment? Yeah. What if the fight happens there and something happens where it's directly Roland's fault?
Yeah.
He goes to shoot at the Man in Black, and the Man in Black, poof, teleports, and Jake's mom walks through the door and catches the bullet.
Yeah.
There's different things that you could do with this, and that's a very good point, that we don't have to have Jake die. We just need to have Jake wronged by Roland in some way. And if it needs to be a catastrophic way, I mean, man, have Roland kill his mom.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And I will say that Lou's in the chat also mentions darkness is your weapon, guns are mine. That's a great one. That is
a fantastic
one.
And
I got to say, like, I mean, I know we've heard him talk a lot in the trailer, especially because we don't know how much he's going to talk in the film. But dude, like, he's got it nailed though, dude. He does. He is freaking Roland, man. He has it. And I agree with Lou. He also says I will kill him for both of us. I think me and Peter, when that trailer came out in our freaking 3-hour discussion of that 1 minute trailer, I think we definitely called that out. And she's dead. There's no way she doesn't die in this movie. But I think it's Catherine Winnick that kind of quote unquote spoiled that a litit bit. Oh yeah, because she said she had a scene with Matthew McConaughey. So it's like
we're like, okay, something bad's gonna happen out of that.
That doesn't go the way you want it to go. Like you don't run into a guy like Flag and walk away unharmed.
Yeah, Lou, that's what we're alluding to. Yeah, that Man in Black is probably tracking Jake and comes across his mom, and
kind of like almost like the Terminator 2 like thing.
Looking for Sarah,
yeah, they're looking for John.
Oh, John,
and T-1000 ends up going and killing like the foster parents and stuff, like that kind of trope where it's like
the collateral damage.
Yeah,
which is one of the title tracks.
Yeah, some of
the track titles.
Yeah, definitely.
How bad would that be if we didn't realize that, like, collateral damage? Oh, that's just like street damage or building damage, but it's Jake's mom. It's like, oh.
Yeah, it's not Jake's mom's noble end, at least.
Yeah.
Like Star Wars. Oh, man. And then also I will say Anthony Breznican wrote about this trailer, and he said that window tackle is actually Sayer.
Is it really?
Yeah, and I think I know what he's like. Once he said that, and I kind of looked at it.
Okay.
I think you can kind of spot that it's that actor. I'm blanking on the dude's name now.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
The actor that plays Sayer. So that's interesting. It'll because we also get a second shot in this trailer of him going out the window with the guy
Where they're
and
actually
he
falling.
has like a greenish vest on. So
Yeah.
it's definitely that actor.
Which is what I said.
Even-
It was cut interestingly in that first trailer. That it looked like he was being tackled out by one of those creature things.
Yeah. So it's definitely from what Brasnican's saying. That's definitely Sayer, which is kind of an interesting like thing that we'll see.
All right.
They'll see those two fight
Yeah.
at it. But okay, so now I got a few screen grabs from the trailer. The first one is one of the first images we see, and I
This
think
is so interesting.
yeah, just this desolate wasteland with an oasis on top of some plateau. You got the planets in the background. So there's definitely
Dude, is that the Manny Village?
no? I think this is Algo Ciento.
You think so?
Oh yeah. Yep.
Huh.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, because that thing on the right probably is the thing that shoots at the tower.
Yeah. So that's a place that holds very much sadness for Peter.
Oh, no.
Yep.
Nope.
Yep. That's
Nope. He's not in this movie. He's not in this movie. We're okay. He's not in this movie, guys. Don't worry.
you're definitely troubled though to finally see the place.
Well, I'm worried that what it's going to be is they're going to stop him, but not destroy this place, so that they have to come back in movie 2 or movie 3 or
Yeah.
if
Come back.
Eddie ever sets foot in this place, I'm going to be, dude. This almost would be worse than the Chewie thing you did to me in Star Wars.
Except now it won't even be all me. It's Uncle Stevie that will put it in
I
your head.
know.
I wish I could take credit though. So yeah, this is a pretty cool image though. Like this is like almost like I don't know. It's very well shot. Like that's the thing for me. I'm like this is a cool looking
It's
shot.
a very cool looking shot, especially with like the double moon up there or double planet or whatever that is.
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
sky.
for sure. Then next up,
The tower.
Yeah.
Just the tower.
and this is this is like just screensaver or background wise. This is just something to make your background on the computer or something. Just absolutely incredible. I'm definitely super happy. I mean, because we've seen so much of the tower in different ways. Different. It's under attack. It's it's. I think we see visions of it falling, but this is just it, just standing. Like
That's the tower.
I love it, man.
Mm-hmm.
I absolutely love it. So Algo Ciento, we got the tower. We already talked about the come on thing. That's one of my favorite moments. See a little bit from him.
Mm-hmm.
And then also the one interesting thing that I take from the whole evolution of Roland is kind of one of our hypotheses for like the ending is when he says everyone that walks to you dies by my hand. No more is Roland's reaction.
I know.
So does that have larger implications
it could.
that Roland will no longer allow those that walk with him to die?
Which
So,
means
because that actually goes towards kind of what Lou was saying, though, is does that mean that Jake's not going to die in this film?
it's possible.
Because Roland won't allow it. Roland's evolved. Maybe he doesn't understand why. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he doesn't even comprehend that he was a different person.
Yeah.
But this is a Roland that will not allow those that are with him to, be victims of his obsession of his tower. So, that's I don't know, man. I can't wait to. I just can't wait to see it. But yeah, this
Is that your desktop wallpaper now?
no, not right now, and it probably
Okay.
will be fairly soon.
Not yet.
Yeah. Yeah, and then Lou mentions the art of the film hardcover, and I actually do have that. I think somebody emailed us about that. I mean, I because we finally have a cover for that, so we'll definitely get
Yep.
to that. But yeah, that looks pretty cool too. The other thing is I wanted to bring up because we haven't mentioned it yet. I don't think on the show. I think we keep forgetting it. But again, we hear the Gunslinger Creed, but we don't necessarily hear it in its entirety as we know it. So is that for the trailer, or do we think that the Creed will have been changed to be a little bit less repetitive and take out the whole "forgotten the face of his father" portion of the thing?
It's possible.
Is it like in your mind, do you think we've heard the Gunslinger Creed as we're going to hear it in the film, or do you think they're just taking that portion out because of the trailer? It's kind of like the whole thing. I remember the discussion online with Stuttering Bill didn't seem to stutter in the It trailer.
Right.
And I'm just like, dude, guys, it's because it's a trailer. Like, he was going to stutter in the movie. I guarantee it. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not even, like, worried about that. But, yeah, that makes me wonder. And the other thing, too, is I'll actually go back to the few stories back, was when we talked about the soundtrack. Track number 2 is The Face of My Father. So it makes me
Right.
think that like,
Well, he says I've forgotten the face of my father in the first trailer.
yeah, but I'm just like,
So-
we just don't have it in context of the Gunslinger Creed. So I'm interested to see how that's going to play out on the film, on film, or what are we going to see with that?
We also don't have him saying the entire Creed at one point. For all we know, we're seeing tidbits.
Yeah, it
here
could
and
be
there.
chopped away from different
It's
things.
not like we're having a scene in the trailer dedicated to him reciting
no,
the
it's
Creed. so.
totally true. Where it's all like overplaying over other things that are happening on screen.
Right.
Now, the one other screen grab I got here
This is interesting.
is what do you think? Bends of the Rainbow here?
Bends of the Rainbow, and then also, did you notice in the background it almost looks like a study?
Yeah, definitely some sort of library, but he's watching Roland.
No, definitely watching Roland, but I'm looking at like, okay, so that's not the Dixie Pig. Do you think that's Algo Ciento?
Yeah, I don't know. It could be.
I mean, maybe it is the Dixie Pig where they have a room for Flag to have his little.
Like his office.
His
It's like,
office
it's just like
kinda
this
thing.
like this slimy like
This reminds me of like a
restaurant. And,
Yeah, it reminds me of like the scene where in the first trailer it's if you told him that everyone who walks with you dies by my hand.
and when he's
When
sitting,
he's sitting
at
in
that
the
table,
chair, it looks like he might be sitting
maybe in this setting.
because the wood kind of looks similar to the stuff in the background of that shot.
Yeah, I mean, this is a lot bigger than what we would have pictured the Bends of the Rainbow to being. So I don't know necessarily how this is working. I don't know if the Bends of the Rainbow will project in some way.
Well,
or
I don't.
something,
Yeah, I
but-
don't think that that's necessarily like an orb. I'm thinking that it's a projection.
Yeah, like projections.
Well, I mean, like
I think that's why people aren't catching on to this necessarily.
Yeah.
Is like, is this Black 13 or something? Because it is so big that people are just playing it off, like just not kind of missing it a little bit.
right.
So like, I just wonder what this, because we already do. We have seen Black 13 in the.
We did.
in the
We saw
one-
it sitting there with him at the same shot.
Yeah. So it's interesting. And Lou says that it looks very Wizard of Oz, which is true, and it would
does.
actually fit right in with the Dark
Yes,
Tower.
it does.
As weird as that might seem. Yeah, that's interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing more of my boy in action in the film upcoming here. So,
Oh, Pete, you must have missed it earlier. I did start the Talisman yesterday. I have started it.
and he accidentally started Black House too, but we won't talk about that.
Yeah, we won't go back into that. We're not going to mention that, Ted.
He who clicks the wrong book has forgotten the face of his father.
I have forgotten the face of the father. Forgotten the face of my father. I cry your pardons.
Okay, so next up is another news article, and this one is a fun one. IGN and Sony present the Dixie Pig.
Oh, here we go.
And this is, as you guys most likely know, if you're in any form of fandom, you know that this upcoming week is a big thing called San Diego Comic-Con.
What's that?
And basically, it looks like for that, there's all kinds of like parties and stuff to go on. Well, IGN teamed up with Sony, and they are creating the Dixie Pig for people to go to.
I'm still waiting for you to tell me what Comic-Con is.
You're going to lose your credibility as podcasters. Sir. You're going to get your podcast license taken away.
Wait, was I supposed to get one of those? Whoops.
Okay, so let me just read the excerpt from the planner thing that posted this. I will say it's sold out, so if you're in the San Diego area and you don't already have tickets, you will not be able to go. But let me go ahead and get the image up that they brought there.
Oh, wow.
So we got that, and it says, calling all San Diego Comic-Con and Dark Tower superfans. You are invited to join IGN, Sony Pictures, and MRC Studios in celebrating the highly anticipated release of the Dark Tower in theaters August 4th. Join us at the Tipsy Crow for San Diego Comic-Con's largest fan party, featuring a full venue transformation into the Dixie Pig. And it's on 775th Avenue, San Diego, California, on Thursday, July 20th at 8 p.m., featuring baby ribs. And that's in quotes there, baby ribs. Music, drinks, and live entertainment along with the IGN team. This is the ultimate party you can't miss. 21 plus event, valid ID required, no backpacks or hats. San Diego Comic-Con badges are not required. And the last line, such a good one, all hail the Crimson King.
Oh. Dude, it's like, is it me or do they get it?
Oh yeah, I think they're doing a great job.
I think they're doing a fantastic job.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
oh, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wait, is this it?
Yeah, that's all we got.
Oh, man, I thought there was going to be, like, pictures of, like, what they're doing and everything.
No, because, I mean, I'm hoping that we'll get some pictures, but it's happening 6 days from now, I think, is when it is. So by the time we do our next show, hopefully some people that got tickets for it will snap some pictures and post it. Hopefully IGN themselves maybe could have something. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Let's see. So All Hail the Crimson King, got the sign there, IGN. And I actually just remembered, I forgot to put it on my notes, but I actually did have one other thing. There was actually a Twitter spot, like a trailer, basically, like a 30-second little spot for Dark Tower, tweeted by the official one. I couldn't find it anywhere else, so I honestly wonder if it's only a one for Twitter.
Okay.
Images, it's all from the original, so all I have is audio for it.
Okay.
But I want to play the audio because there's actually something interesting. Sorry, it just spurred me when we were talking about this restaurant for some reason. But there is something that I definitely think is worth talking about. Let me go ahead and get this pulled up. It's like a 30-second clip, and there's something. Let's see. Get it set up here. So let's go ahead and listen to this. Like I said, I think I haven't found it anywhere else, so I'm just calling it the Twitter spot. I don't know what it actually is. But like I said, all the images from the original trailer, so don't worry about what you would have been seeing. Go to the official Dark Tower Twitter page, and you'll see it posted about a week or so ago. Let's go ahead and take a listen real quick.
For thousands of generations, the Gunslingers were knights, sworn to protect us from the coming of the dark. Now I'm the only one left.
You're in bad shape. I'm surprised you're even sitting up.
I'm stronger than most. I've been fighting them for 200 years.
Death always wins.
I'm coming for you. The Dark Tower.
So,
Death 200 years?
I've been fighting them for 200 years. That's the line that jumped out at me.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
So I think that kind of goes along with, like, I mean, I don't know how, because, like, how have we interpreted things in the past when it comes to, like, Roland? Like, he has, like, the repeat goes back to that certain point and stuff, but how long does, in Roland's mind, does Roland live up to? Because he interprets potentially being alive for 100, or being asleep for, like, 100 years after the flag confrontation.
Right.
At the end of the book. But prior to that, how old, I guess, would we assume that Roland finds that he is?
Because I have no idea.
Because I've always kind of loved this idea that, like, Gilead did fall centuries ago, and that Roland is from that era, and like that he fully comprehends and knows and understands that he is been around for hundreds of years. Because time's different there. I mean, he's from, I don't know if it's a thing about the Eld. It could be. I mean, it could be something about the fact that, like, the line of the Eld helps him live longer and stuff. Or it could be the journey itself helping him. I mean, it could just
be the tower keeping him alive.
Yeah, I mean, or it could even just be that everyone in that world lives longer. But I've always liked that idea that he's older. So just to finally hear something that, like, puts a point to that.
I was trying to rack my brain. I was trying to remember. Doesn't Eddie ask him how old he is at one point?
I don't recall.
I don't recall that. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's pretty exciting to me, and I kind of wish that there had been like more for that, like in terms of just like maybe like on YouTube or something, so we could watch the whole thing. But like I said, if you guys want to find it, you can find it on Twitter. I'll put it a link to it in our show notes. But I can only find it as this Twitter video. I can't find it anywhere else. But it is all just mostly the same visuals. There's just a couple audio tracks that are a little bit different. So it's kind of interesting. Okay, so next up is actually one that dropped today. So we've actually had something.
Wow.
We've had that happen a few times now where articles have dropped today. And this one, actually, I'm trying to recall if I maybe have accidentally forgot to do any kind of header for this one. I did. So this one is actually titled, "The Dark Tower TV Show Would, quote, for sure include Idris Elba." And it is from Matthew Irao from Screen Rants on July 14th, 2017. And there's just a few different things that goes through here, but I wanted to kind of go through it. Now, I will say that this article from Screen Rants actually quotes a quote from Akiva Goldsman from Deadline, but I really liked the way that some of the things that he says in this article, so I went through it this way. I generally try to go to like the original source, but I liked the way this guy spelled out, because the Deadline article with Akiva Goldsman is he actually just signed a deal with a different studio than he's ever worked with before. I think he's generally always worked with Universal, and I think he just signed a deal with Paramount.
Oh, okay.
And he's going to be doing like not Ghost Recon, Rainbow Six. I think it's a Rainbow Six movie, the Tom Clancy video games. There's a movie based on that. He's going to be a point man on that. So like he's some big news for him and his career, and definitely congratulate him on all that.
Yeah.
But the Deadline article had more to do with that, and it kind of just had a small Dark Tower snippet in there. But this article is a little bit more about Dark Tower, so I wanted to go into this one.
Okay.
So, starts off here, says the long-proposed Dark Tower television spinoff is still on track, and Idris Elba will almost certainly be involved. For the past 10 years, Ron Howard, Brian Grazer, and Akiva Goldsman have been working on not only bringing Stephen King's The Dark Tower book series to the big screen, but the small one as well. Long before Marvel had shared films and television universes, the plan was for Dark Tower to bounce back and forth between film and seasons of TV. The idea sounded audacious at the time, but with the first movie finally arriving next month and the entertainment landscape changed, the Dark Tower TV show is still on track. And I will actually say this is the first time reading this that I actually did comprehend the fact that we actually did hear that idea before the MCU was fully in flight and stuff. This is because I remember it being a pretty audacious
Yeah, that's
thing.
true. I never even thought about that.
And to be honest, it still is audacious because the MCU has TV elements, and so does
But
like Star
they're-
Wars, for
yeah.
instance. Like Star Wars has some television elements that get tied in, but none of them have a television that actually is equal to the films. The films always feel
Right.
different and disconnected, almost like it's part of the same world, but they're never direct. You don't see like Iron Man going on missions in a television show, that then lead into his missions in the movies. Like that
No.
doesn't happen. That's what Dark Tower would be. So Dark Tower is still would be a groundbreaker.
Yeah.
And breaking new ground for like I guess like these extended universes for, I don't know, instead of like Marvel, DC, all these different places. So it's kind of interesting. He goes on here, says before the movie can jump to TV, however, it needs to prove that there's an audience. The International Dark Tower trailer has continued to sell the adaptation, while everything from Dark Tower posters to Funko lines has been trying to get fans and newcomers excited for what could be the next big blockbuster franchise. In anticipation of the film's success, it looks like the television show is moving along and will borrow at least one star from the film. And I will say, to correct this guy, because we actually did have the interview with Matthew that we talked about, I don't know how many episodes ago, where Matthew says that he believes that he would be involved in the adaptation.
Yeah.
Because we said that makes sense because, Flag is obviously an ageless creature, and he is one that could very easily be in Magus, he could be in Gilead, he could be anywhere and everywhere, and in fact he probably should be. So it's kind of interesting, but now we're actually hearing that, I don't even know if it would be a surprise that Idris would be involved. I think we would probably assume he'd be there at least for like a narrator or some kind of
we talked about
framing around the thing.
We talked about this a while ago. If we wanted to do the TV show, we could do like a flashback kind of thing.
Yeah.
Where he's telling the story like the book, and then you have Roland, talking to the quartet and everything like that, and then it's just like, then it flashes back and you get your episodes.
Yeah.
And then maybe at the end you get your closure with Idris and everything like that, and then you move on to the next movie. Not something that's necessarily going to be where it's pivotal for the next movie plot, but something that gives you a lot more depth. It's kind of like what they did with Marvel, if you're a fan of it, with Age of Ultron. Like the very beginning of Age of Ultron, they're taking down a Hydra base.
Yeah.
Which was found in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s season 1 or 2, I can't remember which one. And
so there's like small connections.
Yeah, there's small connections there where it's like, oh, we're the ones that found that base, but the Avengers are the ones that are going to take it down. There's that kind of connection. It's the same thing here where it would be like a connection, and there's more depth to the story, but not necessarily something that's critical.
But down
for
the road,
stories
it
of the
might be
movies.
though.
It could be very well
because I think the original idea was there'd be a series that would bridge gaps between later movies, and
that was the original idea. Absolutely, I'm talking about now.
No,
but
yeah,
if we're talking
but
to the original idea, the original idea was going to be taking books and putting them into a TV show.
But that's remember the thing that we had more recent where they asked Ron Howard about it, and he said, "What's changed with your plan and stuff with this?" And he says, "Nothing's changed." So I would say that old idea is still in play. Now, the first season, of course, is going to be Wizard and Glass. But I'm saying is that we might very well see Idris Elba, Aaron Paul, Tom Taylor, whoever else for Susanna, and perhaps even a CG little creature, Bumbler, that will be chilling with them in later seasons of a Dark Tower TV show. So,
right.
I don't know. That's kind of an interesting thing. So now, let me go on here. It says Deadline spoke with Goldsman, who both produced and co-wrote The Dark Tower. According to him, not only has the work begun on the TV spinoff, but Elba is very much involved. There's a direct quote from Akiva. It says, "The first episode of the show has been written." The first episode of the show has been written, and we hope to retain Ron's original idea to mix platforms, something that seemed revolutionary 10 years ago, but now is something that others have done. Idris for sure is part of this, and if The movie is Roland Deschain, the Gunslinger. The show is his origin story based on the fourth novel of the series, Wizard and Glass. So kind of what we're saying. And so, yeah, so the first, I'd hound that again. The first episode of the show has been written. So not only is it,
Wow, we got a pilot.
So there's actually a script written, which is interesting. And
all right.
I like that. I like to see that because it makes it a little bit less abstract. You know, it's not like they're just like, oh, yeah, maybe if the movie's great, like, then we'll get under, like, hiring a writer and writing it. No, like, it's part of it's already written, which is awesome.
This is going back to, like, this is bringing back flashbacks of the movie with, like, oh, we have a director, and you're like, I won't believe it until we see something start filming.
I just found a flashback on my Facebook where I can't remember how long ago it was, but it was an article about Nikolai coming on. It's like, you know, whatever. And that's the way I posted. I'm like, I'll believe it after the first day of filming is completed, but until then, I will not believe it's real. But it just made me laugh because that was my disposition for a long time. And it goes on here, Elba is no stranger to TV. He has made a name for himself with shows like Luther and The Wire. Thanks to his ability to walk that line, it's not hard to see him co-starring in the Dark Tower TV show on a premium network. It's also exciting to hear that the first episode is already written, meaning that the minds behind the series are confident enough to start testing the waters. We've also known for years that the Wizard and Glass had served as the first season of the TV show. Since most of it is told in flashbacks, that details a major part of the Gunslinger's origins. It makes sense for a spinoff. While it can borrow from the film and feature bookends with Elba, the entire cast and setting would be brand new. It would also allow new viewers to dive into the universe without necessarily having seen the Dark Tower movie first, which is also a huge plus. Like, it would be something that would be approachable for anyone. Anyone could go pick that up and watch it, and we could very well even see maybe the Dark Tower movie itself doesn't go, but like it's enough to where like Sony abandons it, and you know Netflix or whoever has this show decides, okay, we'll keep going with seasons to television. Then Aaron Paul gets cast, and
that's right.
We go on toward the future.
That's right.
I don't know. I don't necessarily want that because that would mean that the movie doesn't do well. But there's multiple possibilities out there.
I can't see the movie doing bad, Ted. I see no indications that this is going to be a bad movie. It's going to have a bad weekend. Like I just don't see it. Maybe I'm just a blind fanboy, but man, I just don't see how it could happen.
Yeah, it's definitely got me a little bit nervous in terms of just like the different possibilities and stuff out there. But not that I'm worried, but just that it is one of those things where we're such fans of it that we want to see it succeed. So like it's one of those things that we're rooting for it. So like it's just like it's almost like a sports team. You're just like, come on, do good. And then last up it says, while Star Wars and Marvel both have TV and films to tell stories, the Dark Tower would still be pioneering in that it continues one specific tale across two mediums. While it seems like a pipe dream to fans all those years ago, the imminent arrival of the Dark Tower in theaters makes it all the more plausible. So indeed, that is the truth. And I just can't wait, dude. Like, oh, it's so good to hear that they got an episode written and they're moving on towards making it, hopefully. And now I guess we got to talk about casting pretty soon.
Yeah.
Guess we'll have to think about that.
It's gotten kind of quiet in the chat. Is everybody still there? I'm just wondering if something happened.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't. I guess you watch a little bit closer than me while I'm reading and stuff. But while we're waiting to hear from the chat, we will go ahead and go over to emails.
It's the emails. Tad's gonna read us what people wrote to us. Thanks, Lou. Lou chimed in and said that we're still here.
So yeah, it is time for some emails.
All right.
And yeah, it's so that's the news that we have. Got some soundtrack, got some trailer, got some poster action, got an episode of television written, got a lot going. There's just a whole lot. But let's go ahead and dive into some emails and see what our quartet is up to. And first up is Bart from Belgium chiming back in. Heil, Size, and Tad and Peter. Heil. It's Bart from Belgium once more. Just short mail this time around. Just wanted to share a couple of pictures with you guys. First one is the cover of the book that's about to come out, The Making of the Dark Tower movie. This one that Lou just mentioned. So here is...
Oh, nice.
Dark Tower, the art of the film. And what was Lou saying?
The picture was very reminiscent of the cover.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that's what he was saying there in terms of... but that's definitely a pretty cool cover. Dark Tower. And you know what's funny is it feels like ages ago now, but isn't that text still pretty close to that badge that we discovered on Instagram?
Yeah, it is.
It's still pretty close. But yeah, it's looking pretty good. I like that. And he goes on and says, I don't think you guys have shown the cover of it on your podcast, so I thought I'd mail it to you. And actually, yeah, like, I'm glad you did. And it's kind of funny because, like, just with the way the mailbag works and how long it gets to it, I have actually just kind of put it on the back burner to, like, wait for this email to actually show it, even though we knew that it was, you know, obvious. I knew the cover's there. So now for Peter to finally see it.
That's really cool. I like it.
And he says, I for one think that it's a pretty awesome picture, and I'm using it as my background at the moment. And I think that I probably almost would if it wasn't for that shot that we have from the new trailer.
Yeah.
I think that one might be my background for a while. He says, I got the book on pre-order and can't wait for it to come. And that's definitely one that I have to pre-order too. I don't know if I've pre-ordered that yet. My whole Amazon account is full of Dark Tower pre-orders right now. And he goes on and says, the second picture comes from last week when I was leaving work to go home. I work in logistics, administrative work in a warehouse. And as I'm leaving my job site, I spotted a yellow Bulgarian truck heading my way. No biggie, of course. We get lots of trucks during the day. But out of the corner of my eye, I read the text on the trailer. And that got my attention. So let me go ahead and pull it up here and...
Oh, wow.
And he says, you'll know what I mean when you see the picture. I was too late to take a picture myself, so I got this one off the internet. I must say the name of the trucking company doesn't really give me a sense of confidence.
The name of the trucking company, by the way, guys, is Discordia.
So yeah, that's great. I love that. Good picture of the book, and then some Crimson King trucks there. And he says, that's all for now. Only other news is that I have finished the last book in the meantime. I'm now awaiting the delivery of the Concordance. And then, of course, we know that that's written by Robin Firth. And I also ordered English versions of Insomnia and Salem's Lot, and with thanks to the Unfound Door. So that's awesome. Good to hear that. And we'll have to let us know what you think of that when it comes to Salem's Lot, at least. I haven't got to Insomnia yet, but I think, have you mentioned Insomnia? I know we talked about it quite a bit.
I have.
Definitely not part of the Unfound Door.
We talked about it in the episode where we brought up what's connected, what's our favorite connections, and everything. And we brought up that it's either Salem's Lot or Insomnia is the most directly connected to the Dark Tower.
Yeah, for sure. And he says, anyways, keep up the good work, guys. I very much like the YouTube thing. I'm listening to the last roundtable via YouTube. It's fun to actually see the pictures as you guys are talking about it. The only weird thing is I found the roundtable episodes on YouTube because I'm subscribed to your YouTube channel, and each time you guys post something, I get a message. When I got your YouTube channel's homepage, the roundtable episode isn't listed. The only video that's up there is the first Unfound Door. Maybe you should check out why the roundtable episode is missing. And I will say, guys, the reason for that is just to give you some behind the scenes. With that, once we finish a live stream, it does take a couple hours for the thing to almost download to YouTube,
publish almost.
Yeah, and then like usually we'll start a little bit, and then we'll kind of jump in and talk a little bit to the people in the chat, and then we'll hit the intro music and go. And I usually just edit out that first bit to where going forward the people just hear the intro and then into the whole thing. So that does take some time, but yeah, definitely I will try to keep on top of that to where it should be posted as quickly as possible. But yeah, I don't know. I did notice it's probably at least a 2 or 3 hour period for it to buffer. And then he signs off, long days and pleasant nights. It may have twice the number, signed Bart. He says, P.S. I'm sure Peter will once again appreciate the fact that I didn't use any emojis in this email.
Appreciate it.
Oh, I don't know. That's...
You've turned him against me, Tad. So many people.
And then he actually, Bart chimes in again a little bit later, and he's so part 2 from Bart, and he says, hi guys, since sending my last email, I've been thinking a lot about the book, and I find myself in a real dilemma. The book, and then he's talking about the making of book, and he said for the film, and he says the book should be in the mail in my mailbox on July 25th, but the movie release for Belgium is August 23rd, and he says real bummer. And he says I've been wondering what to do. My gut feeling tells me to get stuck. Tells me to get stuck into the book as soon as it arrives, but on the other hand, it might contain serious spoilers for the movie. I can't make up my mind if I should read it before the film or wait the whole month before until after the movie has been released.
I vote wait.
How about you guys? Will you guys get the book before the film? And in that case, are you going to read it before you watch the film? Just curious what you guys would do. And we actually have to also address that because I do believe that book is slated for July 28th release. So we will be getting it.
I'm waiting
a little bit before the movie comes out.
I'm waiting.
Yeah, I think I'll wait too. Even though not that we've necessarily sheltered ourselves from anything.
No,
but I think that will be a little bit more.
There's a little bit more in there,
in depth. Yeah.
If you can't trust yourself, what I would do is give it to a close friend and say, "Don't give this back to me until September."
Yeah, no matter how much I beg or plead or threaten your life.
Nope.
And then he signs off. That's all for now. Long days and pleasant nights. Bart from Belgium.
Yeah, twice as many.
Indeed. Yeah, so that's an interesting one. We have the same dilemma because I think the publishers probably hammered it for the July 28th release. So when the Emoji Movie move happened, the book stayed on course. So we will be getting it a week before the movie comes out.
Yeah, I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna look at it.
I'll probably open it out of the package just to at least get a picture of it. Probably post on social media.
Yeah,
just as this vile temptress, just waiting to like lure me in.
And then you give it to someone you trust not to look at it, which would be me. So.
And then you would read it.
I would not read it. Absolutely not. How dare you?
All right. So next
question my honor.
Next up is Aaron from DC. And he wrote in once before. He says, "Hey, Tad and Peter. It was neat hearing my email on the show. I'm glad you liked my Red Sox Book 7 story.
Yeah.
Despite all the drinking that night, it's one of those days I remember pretty perfectly. It was also neat hearing your listener Cody chime in during my email because that's my little brother's name who I got hooked into the Dark Tower. And until you mentioned Cody from Kansas, I briefly thought that my little brother might be listening to the same podcast without me knowing about it. And that would be quite the...
That would be so funny.
That would be caw at work, no doubt. No doubt. He says, actually, my little brother and I are currently quite a few states apart, and next month I'm planning on taking a 400-mile drive to meet up with him to see the Dark Tower for the first time together, and he's planning on coming my way when it comes out. So
Very nice.
That's pretty awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, that's fantastic. That's
a family that Stephen King's together stays together.
Indeed. At least until Algo Ciento comes along.
Oh, Tad! Call!
You just open yourself up for it, and then you act all surprised when I take the shot.
You claim to be a good guy. Good guys don't do that, Tad.
He goes on and says, anyway, I'm glad it sounds like Peter's going to do the Talisman and Black House. And Tad, I know you'll eventually get going on them as well for your Unfound Dorsos. So regarding those eventual podcasts, I have a few loose ideas and suggestions regarding both those books for your show. I was originally going to straight up volunteer to guest on those if you would take me, because I'm dying to talk about them and about these thoroughly and in depth with someone. And I'm definitely not opposed to that. We haven't really quite figured out exactly how all of the Unfound Door will happen. But yeah, there very well may be portions where people have a chance to chime in and take a look at different books with us as we get going. And maybe if not, maybe we even just do call-ins with the things, like maybe almost make it a straight up book club in some ways where people are fully welcome to
call in and weigh in on certain things and everything
stuff. Yeah. And he goes on and says, as I said, I got friends I can talk to about books 1 through 7 of the Dark Tower, but so far I haven't been able to bully/beg any of them to get into the Talisman and Black House yet. I have so much I want to say, but quite a number of my friends and family about them, but I can't because I don't want to give spoilers, or let me say I don't give real spoilers. Yeah, I'm all about that kind of stuff too. And he goes on and says, so I was going to volunteer, but then I thought with how your shows work and with what these two books turn out to be, I'd much prefer to just listen. Prefer just listening to just Tad and Peter do their thing about these. So, I mean, yeah, either way, I mean, we'll by the time we get to those, because I'm trying to remember where those are at. I think those are a little bit further along in the timeline for Stephen King. But, yeah, by then we'll probably be a little bit more solidified in what we're doing, and we might have some call-in elements. If not, just send some thoughts about emails when we get close to that.
For sure.
When we get to the book that comes out before Talisman, you know that I'm going to be starting it, so start sending emails and be part of the conversation that way.
Anytime you read it in between now and then, write down your thoughts.
Yeah, for sure. And he says, but without spoilers, saying that there is a lot to talk about with these is an understatement. So I'm suggesting / requesting that after you eventually do your Unfound Door for Black House, could you guys do a live Talisman Black House edition of Roundtable episode? I would absolutely call in, and I'm guessing some of your other listeners would too. And like I said, we might even just transform the Unfound Doors to allow that kind of thing. That would be pretty cool, I think, if people wanted to chime in on that. Maybe even just do it as a request. Like if people request, like, hey, I'd love to chime in on books X, Y, and Z, we'd open those ones up for those type things. And if nobody hits us up, then I'll just do a normal Unfound Door and not worry about like having call-ins and just do the normal thing. And he says, lastly, a request to Peter. Don't wait for Tad to start these, and whenever you finish Black House, can you quickly mention it to finish on the show and just give us a short, brief, spoiler-free description of how you feel, knowing that Tad hasn't read it yet. And he gives us a smiley emoji. I think he's implying that you would torture me with the fact that you...
I get to torture you, finally?
That you have a leg up on it.
I get a leg up? Oh, boy, it's Christmas. Is this how you feel whenever you do this to me? I feel all warm and fuzzy inside.
Yeah. See? You just said good guys don't do it. Now you're relishing in it.
No, I'm saying I could do it. I'm not going to.
Oh, sure. We'll see.
Yeah.
And he says, keep up the show. I love it. I'll write again after the movie drops and hope it's going to be a happy email. And then he signs off, life for your crop, Aaron.
Aaron, I have started Talisman.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've said it enough in this episode.
I know. I kind of knew that it was going to converge with like all these different emails where people keep bringing it up.
Yeah.
And it's all just kind of played out in a way to where it's like, I think that's what finally got you on to like going fully into reading it and stuff. And then now it's like going to have some straggler emails where people are telling you to read it and stuff. So that's pretty awesome.
Shout out to my wife and daughter who are listening. Hi, guys. They just texted me and told me that they're listening. And my daughter says hi to you. She says you are her Tad.
Oh, yeah?
She says, that's my Tad.
Yeah, it is indeed me. Indeed. All right, so next up, we got another email. And this is actually a new one. And I don't want to like... my first thought is this might be a new one from a certain place, but I don't want if anyone has already emailed from this area, cry your pardon, but it's Brian from El Paso, and it made me think, as big as Texas is, have we had any Texas emailers at least that have called out their names? I know we still have some people out there that haven't given us their place where they're from, but Texas, as big as that place is, I don't know.
Remember if we have one from Oklahoma. That's about Texas, right?
All the hate email now for that can go straight to Peter. Just straight to Peter. I don't need to hear it here.
Sorry, guys. That was a bad one. I'm sorry.
Brian,
I cry your pardon.
Brian starts off, says, Heil Gunslingers.
Heil.
It's the first time emailer, and he says, besides a quick note a month or two ago, I've been listening for a while. Quick story to put everything into perspective. Several months ago, I discovered the podcast and decided it was time to journey on the path of the beam again. And that's always great to hear. I love to hear that people get into podcasts and go through and start reading the books again. That's just awesome. That's always a great thing to hear.
Yeah.
Sending people back down the path of the beam and enjoying more Uncle Stevie. It's all great. I love it.
I just can't wait. I really hope my wife gets into it.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah, well, 3 weeks.
It's true. We will be doing that experiment. It's still on where we'll take someone who has no knowledge of it, but will be seeing the movie. So
yeah. All right. So then Brian goes on, says, around the same time I got this a Samsung G3 almost solely for the ability to customize the watch faces, and learned of a community of designers. So I get to book 7 and I come to the part where Roland is given the Patek Philippe watch. Right away I know I need to design this watch. Fast forward a couple of weeks and you have the Patek Philippe Duchesne edition. Attached are some pictures. Let me go ahead and... So like this
wow.
So the Samsung G3 is a e-watch, which one of the best parts about the e-watches is you can design different things for them. And he says he has special bunch of screenshots for the design, normal mode, and the low battery consumption dim mode. The Patek I drew inspiration from, and the watch that I came across that I figured you would all let's see. Oh, and a watch that I figured you guys would also enjoy. So a few of his, then one that he threw in there specially for us. Says I loaded the watch with plenty of nods to both the books and the movie. See if you can spot them all. There should be around 12. I'm one of those guys that doesn't have anyone to talk Dark Tower with, so this is as close as I can get.
The number 19 up there.
Where at?
Right by the two hands, right in between 1 and 2 o'clock.
Oh, okay.
It's Roman numerals. XIX. That's 19.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I see that for the day.
See, Monday the 12th. So the 19 one fools you to think that it's like a day one, but it's actually just the number 19.
That's true.
That's clever. I like that. That's the first thing. That's the first thing I noticed when you pulled up this picture.
Yeah.
The tower with the 12 beams coming off of it. You got the sign of the eld, the key, the rose.
Got the 2 moons, which is indicative of the trailer.
The trailer. While over red, thus
white over red.
Oh, white over red. That's what. Okay, my bad.
Although I don't know if I agree with that statement.
Thus God. What does that say? Wills ever.
Thus God wills ever. Probably. It's kind of hard. I'm a little bit further away than you are, but
yeah. And then there's writing on the minute and hour hand as well. I'm assuming that's high speech.
Yeah, probably is. And I mean, I would probably go personally with more of the red over the white, but that's just me, you know.
Get out of here.
Yeah, no, that's pretty sweet. Like that's.
Is there 4 hands on this watch?
So
you got hour over here at about 10 o'clock. You got minute over here at about 6. What is that?
It could possibly be for the hours that go along the outer portion. So for military time.
Oh, okay.
You have the one that would follow those maybe. I don't know actually.
Because isn't that the second hand going
Or
down
actually, no,
towards
that's
about...
not. No, that's not military time because that goes up to 31.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure.
That's not... Is that seconds?
So
there's the dim.
There's the low power mode.
Yeah.
That's pretty sweet.
That's way cool. It's like almost like glow in the darkish.
Yeah, and I am like right on the cusp of buying one of these smartwatches, and this is just pushing me even further.
I know, you're right.
I know. Both of my like standard traditional watches have both died on me, and I need new batteries. I'm just like, do I get new batteries or just buy an e-watch? And then this one here, I think this may be what the... Yeah, this is potentially what the real one is, the real watch that he based it off of.
Yeah.
So this is like the Patek watch. And then last up, and I will say that, Lou is saying days of the month for the outer ring, and that's must be what it is.
Oh,
So it makes me think that like the...
So 1 through 31 is the day of the month.
Yeah.
So you have it. You
have it twice. You have
Monday the 12th, and then it's the 12th pointing down. Okay.
Yeah, for sure. So.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
So that's the second hand up there at 2 o'clock. The one that's slightly glowing blue, the longer one. Because remember, the longer one is second, the medium one is minutes, the shortest one is hour.
Yeah. So that's I'm trying to see what's on the end of that day one.
It's a little symbol. I can't tell.
Yeah.
Go to the one before this. Is that this? No, it's not the sign of the Eld. I can't tell what it is.
Yeah, I can't tell. Either way,
it almost looks like a crescent moon holding the number.
I definitely don't know if we've necessarily found all of his Easter eggs, but
he said 12. I think we only found like 7 or 8.
Yeah. So that's I don't know. Oh wait, maybe the is that the stars, Old Mother and
oh yeah.
I'm blanking on it. The
father and mother.
The two that get in the fight and then are separated for all eternity and stuff. Mm-hmm. That's that's pretty cool. I think that's definitely one that I would download. The one that I've always wanted is goes back to the James Bond GoldenEye watch from the game GoldenEye that has like your health bar and stuff. But I think this would probably top that and probably be my my face for my e-watch if I was to get one. Well, when I get one. And so that's that one. And yeah.
Oh, glowing blue like Roland's guns.
Oh yeah.
When it goes to low power mode.
That's true.
That's glowing like the sign of the Eld on Roland's gun in the trailer. That's right, Lou.
That's true. Good call.
Old Star is what Pete says.
Yeah,
old Star and Old Mother. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why I was blanking on that. I'm trying to think. I don't know if we necessarily got 12 of them, but
I don't know. We'd have to go back and count. That's just too much for us.
But that's definitely a lot of cool things. Is 19 glowing different than the rest of them too on the outside ring? None of the others are glowing like that.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. 19's glowing the blue right there. Very good. Very good, Ted. Very good.
And then he also has a watch that he thought that we would like. That this is not designed by him, but he sent it.
Oh my God!
I think it's just for Peter, really. And I have to say, well done, sir. Well done, Brian. Well done. Just to like even out the person earlier on that didn't put any emojis in their email. And now we got this. Well done, Brian. Well done.
Seriously? Come on, man.
Oh, man. And he says, he finishes up, I loaded the watch with plenty of nods to both the books and the movies, see if you can spot them all. There should be around 12. Oh, then I already got that part. He says, sorry for the long email, but something from the trailer that I wanted to bring up. Maybe everyone else had already thought this.
Will you change the screen?
And Lou says, where's the poop one? Oh, man. I'm sorry. That's just, that really got me. God. I'm so glad that you did that. And he says, I haven't seen anyone mention it yet, but what if this movie takes place on another path of the beam? The books are along the turtle and bear, but what if this story is on like the rat, for instance? In the trailer, a rat-like creature attacks Roland and Jake in the scene that is very much like the Shardik in the Wastelands. That would allow filmmakers to change scenes and characters pretty easily, maybe every time. Spoilers, Roland reaches the top of the tower and restarts. He goes off to a different path of the beam. And he says, I'll stop now. Signs off, long days and pleasant nights. Brian from El Paso, Texas. And may you have twice the number. And I think that's definitely an interesting thought process for like being on different beams. I don't really feel that there's really that much apart from the fact that Shardik would be not Shardik
It's true. It could be someone else. Yeah,
it could be something else. But I think that would be the most iconic thing that you would lose from the book line by being on a different beam. Because I think like Blaine would still be on that beam because you've changed.
No, it's just the same. Yeah,
it'd be the same. It'd just be on a different beam and not have the same whatever animals on two sides. And then Pete in the chat says Peter has to be livid.
I am.
That's so good. That was absolutely perfect. Absolutely perfect.
Gosh.
And then let's see where we're at here. We have a couple. Let me get one more short email in, and then we will probably sign off. We're getting close to time.
I was gonna say we're getting pretty close to time, aren't we?
And let's go ahead and got another new one here, and this is Miguel from Chile.
Oh, okay.
And that's a new one for us. And he says, "Heil, Tad and Peter, long time listener, first time writing." Heil, indeed. And he says, and from a very far away Chile in South America. And he says, time to buy a map and start placing the pins, as your idea was. Yeah, I know, and it's got quite a number of listeners from different areas. It's like it's hard to imagine sometimes.
Okay, let's do that.
Well, you mentioned that before. I think that's what he's referring to.
I really want to do that. Put it right there. Can I put it right there?
He mentioned that doing that, and then getting like pins and putting it in places where we get people from.
I wonder if there's an app for that. Keep going. I'm going to listen.
And he says, according to IMDb, the movie is being released here on the 24th of August. And he says, will not insert sad emoji. So now you got another person that's defending you and not doing emojis. He says, so I'll be keeping away from the podcast for a couple weeks. And of course, for any listener that's outside the United States that cannot listen because the movie coming out in a different time, we absolutely totally understand and we totally get it, and we're going to definitely want to hear from you guys as soon as you see the movie, though. Like on the 24th of August, I know some people are getting it. I know some people a little bit sooner, a little bit later. Anyone, whenever you get the movie, we want to hear your initial emails, and whatever we're doing, we will drop it and listen to those because I don't know, we want to hear everyone's reactions and thoughts for like, I don't know what you guys think of the films.
Oh, for sure.
Or the film when you see it.
It's going to be the same as the trailer, except I think like 100 times over bigger. We'll go shows talking about the movie.
Just taking it apart. And
don't worry about
talking about every little thing, like every rabbit trail.
Don't think that just for a second that you're a week behind us, 2 weeks behind us, a month behind us. Don't think that we don't want to hear it.
And in fact, like, I mean, you could even, like, if you want to send your email before you get caught up on the shows, you could even do that. I mean, you may hit some stuff that we've already talked about, and we may just have a little bit shorter conversation about those small things, but I'd almost rather hear your guys' unadulterated feedback and reactions rather than hear you guys go through and catch up on a couple shows and then email us. So when you guys get that, do that, and that's how we'd love to hear from you guys. Just quick question. After seeing the trailer number 2, the international trailer, I'm really, really worried the movie will end up just being a mid-budget action film, losing the essence of what made the books great. Maybe Sony doesn't know how to market the movie, and I am completely wrong. Hope I am. What are your thoughts? I think that's definitely the concern that most people have is the tone of the movie. But I think that if nothing else, it might be the marketing. I mean, Sony's handling the marketing. Nikolai has nothing to do with it. Mm-hmm. And I just would think that, like, you know, like, and it may be a little bit more in the action vein than we would necessarily imagine it being. But honestly, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. But I think the marketing is probably definitely hyping that side of it a lot more. Yeah. Like, I don't think we're going to be seeing a 2-hour movie of Roland doing nothing but reloading and doing crazy trick shots. Like, no, that's not going to be what it is. I think that's just the way that Sony's marketing it. I can only think back to, like, one of my all-time favorite movies is The Gray, especially on the newer side. And it's one where Liam Neeson, quote, fights the wolves, and that's the way it was marketed. Terrible marketing. That movie is actually really great and really, really, it's got a lot of, like, deep thought to it and almost like philosophical ideas behind it. But there's no way to market that as like this philosophical, like, tale, so you just market it as Liam Neeson fights wolves, and it's just a way to, like, I don't know, to get people to go see it.
Lou makes a very good point in the chat. This is a marketing for moviegoers, not for book readers.
Exactly, and I don't. So I think that, like, the guy that made the movie is Nikolai. He's a book reader, and he knows us. He understands us. Right. So I believe that once you get into the movie, we are going to see different than what the marketing is showing us. Yeah. So that's my belief. We'll see. I mean,
the marketing is to pull people in who haven't read The Dark Tower, not for the fans, like Lou's saying. It's more designed for the everyday person who's going to see it on TV while watching the NBA Finals. Oh, hey, that's a pretty good looking action flick. Let's go see that. Yeah. And then when they get into the theater, they're going to be drawn in because it's, again, what we've talked about. It's a new world. Yeah. And it's that world building process that people love watching in movies.
Yeah, totally. I think that and I think that there's going to be plenty of action in the movie. You know, I don't think that people are going to necessarily go in like The Gray, where it's like you go in expecting one thing and get something completely different. But I think that they're definitely going to get a lot more levels to the film than they expect.
But there's still going to be plenty of action. I mean, you've seen that there's going to be multiple gunfights and everything like that.
Yeah, for sure.
Pete gave you a compliment on the comparison with The Gray.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that's just one that I couldn't like going in. I'm like, oh, whatever. Like Liam Neeson, and that movie just blew my socks off because I was like, holy crap, dude, this movie's amazing.
Yeah, it's really good.
So I'm hoping that like maybe there'll be people emailing us here in a year or two that like are saying almost a similar story about The Dark Tower. Like they just thought it'd just be this dumb, mindless action film, and then they walked out just being really like turned on by like the story and the actual mythology
and the characters,
and the struggle between the white and the red, as it were. So
the good guys and the bad, respectively.
And then Lou says Box Office Pro has forecast for The Dark Tower. Can't post a link, but search for The Dark Tower on the site, and you can vouch. I can't vouch for their accuracy, but the domestic numbers look promising. Yeah, I actually did see that, but I forgot to put it in the notes. Actually, I can't remember why. I can't remember somebody tweeted that at me or what, but it actually wasn't in my emails. Now that I think about it, thanks for reminding me, Lou. Yeah, there's a website that does projections, and their projections aren't necessarily bad. But yeah, and that kind of goes on to what. Miguel here finished up. It says, what do you guys think is the magic number regarding box office in the U.S. and worldwide to guarantee a sequel? I would say that, unfortunately, the U.S. is the most important because I don't know why they just don't hold international as big. It's like I think the biggest example is like Pacific Rim. For the longest time, we were not going to get a sequel to that because it didn't do well enough in the U.S., even though it made buku money internationally. They finally came around and they're doing a sequel to it, but it almost feels like they were drag kicking and screaming to a sequel.
I know, right?
You know, based on the international numbers. So I think the U.S. numbers are the most important, even though I think that's kind of bogus. And I really don't know what the magic number is, but yeah, I will get those numbers and bring those up in the next show for sure. But I'll probably do some research into that website and see what kind of accuracy they have, because I'm kind of like Lou. I was kind of unsure about like what to think of them as a website. Like, do they do this a lot? You know, maybe go grab like Baby Driver from a few weeks ago and see what they were projecting it to and see what it actually got and see, you know, put them to the test a little bit. So, but I don't know what the magic numbers are, Miguel. That's a little bit above my pay grade. As much as I'm a fan of movies, when it comes to things like, I'm not really sure. I would say that I want to say that there's generally a rule of thumb that you want to make, like depending on like the budget of your movie, but I think that you probably at least want to make. I'd want to say they probably want to at least make 30 to 40 million the first weekend would be my guess, somewhere in that range, where you want to at least make either half or a little over half of the film's budget in the first weekend, just because there's some mathematics involved with like how much a movie drops off in following weeks. Yeah. Hopefully that's a little bit less for Dark Tower, because the reason that it's placed where it is because there's very few movies coming after it. So hopefully that drop off is a little bit different and it can make a respectable sum. But I think that like easily saying that if they double it, if they get to the 120, 140 to $50 million all time, like when they get it finally put away and that's the end of it, that's probably enough for a sequel. But I don't know enough about the way Hollywood thinks to where that would be enough or not, but hopefully somewhere in that range. He goes on and says, thank you very much. Keep up the good work. Regards, Miguel. And he says in parentheses after his signature, pardon my English, it's my second language, but I think you did awesome. So no worries there. And thank you for emailing from down there in Chile. That's awesome.
Yeah, thank you a lot.
And
we love hearing from everyone. We really do. I don't say it enough, but man, we love hearing from you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that like then Lou saying if it breaks 100 million domestic, that would be an excellent mark. Yeah, I definitely think that that's probably somewhere in there, because that would easily cover, because like I can't imagine they're spending that much on marketing. I couldn't imagine they're spending more than 5 or so million on all told. I mean,
yeah, no way.
Somewhere in that range, like something small enough to where if they got 100 million, you're talking for a $60 million movie, call it $8 million movie when it comes to all the marketing told. You've made money at 100 million most likely.
Well, not only that, but we're seeing some merchandise move. I mean, look at your Amazon cart.
Yeah, no kidding. Looks like Lou's signing off, and we're about to do the same. So, Lou, thanks for joining us, and it was good to have you with us. And Pete here says, Flag is the hero of the movies, right? And of course I agree.
Okay, this trolling Peter business has to stop.
Yeah, Flag, man, he's just trying to build a better world. Just like Weyland-Yutani in the Aliens franchise.
Oh, get out of here.
Building better worlds. But yeah, no, so that's it for Miguel, and I think that's going to do us for emails for this episode. I think time time to go ahead and close up shop real quick. And we have a few more emails that we didn't get to, but next time we could go ahead and hit some of those. And then any new emails that come in, we can hit those as well as we get down to we're down to the wire, man. We only have a few more. We have one episode left, proper episode, and then into our movie review. So that'll be pretty.
Oh, so close.
Yeah, we're getting close, guys. 3 weeks. And then from there, I mean, we want to definitely get back into the book clubs for sure. Once the movie's done, and we can kind of get on to like back to the books and stuff, and just get back into where, especially Peter Jones, and to get back to Eddie Dean and the airport. And I can't blame him because that's some of my favorite stuff.
I've been patiently waiting.
Yeah, indeed. But with all this news breaking, like honestly, any of these previous episodes, there's just so much new stuff going on that like. I think we'd be putting ourselves in a huge hole if we were to do a book club.
I think it would be really bad if we did.
Yeah, but we definitely want to get back to it, but it's just one of those things. It's all timing. Since the movie's coming so quickly, we want to, get as much as we can of this information, and I don't know, just get jonesed and jazzed for the movie that comes out here in 3 weeks. So we'll go ahead and close up shop. If you guys want to subscribe to us, you can do that on iTunes. If you want to stream us, you can do that on Stitcher. You can find the show notes at darktowerpalaver.com. If you guys can be so kind as to rate and review our shows on iTunes, we would be most appreciative of that. If you guys want to join the Palaver, you guys can do that in a number of ways, including the live chat, as some of the people are in with us right now. But Peter, how else do people join the Palaver if they want to?
You can email us like several of the guys today have done, darktowerpalaver@gmail.com. You can also find us on Facebook. It's facebook.com/darktowerpalaver. You can also give us a follow on the Twitter. It's at DarkTowerPod. That's at DarkTowerPod. Please find us on YouTube under Dark Tower Palaver. Subscribe there so we can get our own private URL there. If you want to join us for live chats, stay tuned to our social media, and we'll be posting show times usually a day or so beforehand.
Yeah, this one was a little bit short notice. That was my bad. But generally, I'll try to give you guys a little bit of advance notice on when we're going to have our show done.
Yeah, there was something that happened for this show that we don't need to go into it, but it was just like we had a plan for something and it didn't work out.
Yeah, so go ahead and keep your eye on social media, and we'll let you know when the live chats are going to happen. Generally speaking, though, they're usually Friday, Saturday nights. It's just where we are. So if you guys are kind of the party animals that love to go out and enjoy those nights, you guys can just always join us with the normal podcast then, because that's usually when we do our stuff. Right. With weekends, during the week we work kind of not opposite shifts, but close enough to opposite that there's no way that a weekday thing would ever really work. So except for Fridays, because we actually have Fridays off. So
exactly.
But that's it for this episode, guys. Thanks for joining us, and 3 more weeks, man. By the time you join us next time, we're gonna be a week.
We'll be
a week
one
away.
week away.
1 week away. So close, man. So, guys, until next time, we will sign off as we always do and say long days and pleasant nights.
Long days and pleasant nights, folks.
All right, guys, everyone that's in the chat, thank you guys for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
We will see you guys next time. Just hit us up on any of the social media if you want to engage with us between shows. Facebook, if you want to have Peter involved, he usually sees the Facebook stuff. If I use Twitter a lot heavier, especially when it comes to talking about news, because Peter isn't plugged into that. So if you want to just talk about stuff that's happening in between shows without having to worry too much about Peter, hit me up on Twitter. And of course, any emoji jokes, make that on Facebook so Peter will see it. All right, guys. See you guys next time, and one week away by the time we see you next time.
Bye, guys.
All right, see ya.